Can I just say we all look great?
No.
No, you can't. I'm going to mute you again. No, get out.
Dare you?
No. All
Turn
right.
this stream into a house of lies.
All right, so let's pretend we know what we're doing here and get on with this.
Oh no.
Oh, that's right.
Oh no.
We're doing a bit of streaming.
That's a bad choice.
Spider, why don't you give me an update on things as transpired in our last episode?
Well, Lucas got it into his head that somehow I had caused his apparent disagreement with a door, and I don't know how he thinks I could possibly have applied glue to the inside of his door. That's ludicrous. And then we've just been chilling out in this country estate, having a good time, chatting to the locals, and I know that Alexandre and Chevalier and Lucas got into a bit of a tiff over some training mishaps, and it was surprising to see Lucas so rattled. But then there were some fireworks and a ball, and despite the fact that that makes our safe house a little less secret than I was anticipating, it lifted everybody's spirits, and that's nice.
Okay.
And then, for the most part, we're just sort of waiting around until either our ship comes in or a better offer. And the mistress of the family is arriving tomorrow and apparently wants to meet with us and is interested in mine and Lucas's grandfather. Like they may have met, which is interesting tidbit of information.
Mm-hmm. All right. Chevalier, your thoughts on recent affairs?
It was a very involved day. In an effort to see what Lucas could do with his connection to the song, to test it, we decided to push him to his limit, essentially, as you might in sort of more extreme soldier training. It worked. He was able to conjure an ability, but I had not considered whether I had made it clear enough to him that he had a means to back out, that it was not required, that he could step away. I had not considered how I may be inadvertently manipulating his pride. And it resulted in his leg being, his prosthetic, shattered. And when I offered to repair it, he turned me down. It has been 49 years since I was first woken, and apparently I am still making the same mistakes. Most of this I realized in a conversation with the Ebon Elf, Remamala. And then after that, there was a ball for the Fisher celebration. Quite a grand affair. A lot of people, but the sort of people where I did not think we were in more danger, because a solid amount of the people there were to prevent anything from happening, to dissuade any attempts against anyone present. Would have been a lot more fun in different circumstances.
Okay. Alexandre, your thoughts on recent events?
I am confused. I don't like how I feel at the moment, because I think La Chanson made a mistake. And La Chanson cannot make mistakes. So I'm not entirely sure what to think. La Chanson trusts Lucas. Chevalier trusts Lucas. I do not trust Lucas. And I don't like it.
Okay. Lucas,
Yes.
your thoughts on recent events, please.
Recent event. A lot has happened in the last 24 hours.
That's polite.
Leg broken. That, yes. Leg smashed. Song unleashed. Leg fixed. Boundaries laid down with Alexandre. We had a dance.
Mm-hmm.
We were very good.
Mm-hmm.
I was again told off for wearing my pajamas to a ball.
Again.
Again, yes. Well, I mean, last time it was my sister. This time it was the dwarf, Tolbeck.
Trollmac.
Yeah. And what else? And my hand got glued to a door. So a lot has happened. I'm very sore. I fixed everything on my own, but I said no to Alexandre and Chevalier helping me out. Mostly because they'd already done enough. So yes. Last thing I said to Alexandre before I went home to my room was that I'm going to figure this out my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she liked it.
All right. So, oops, wrong button. Where'd it go? There we go. So I'm going to just say it's the next morning. It's been a very busy night. Keep in mind you're all up past your bedtime by definition of the idea that the Ebonels were partying from midnight till 4 a.m. I suspect most, if any of you wanted to, either you're going to have to commit to trying to keep up with the Ebon Elves, or you're going to probably all collectively run out of steam, other than Chevalier around 2 a.m.
Chevalier's got the Ebon Elves goes, no, we need to go to bed now. Stop, please. It's enough.
So, what's breakfast for Spider looking like this morning?
Well, firstly, Spider wakes up probably surrounded by a room entirely filled with cups of water. So, like,
You got me back. You got me back already. As if you snuck into my room while I was asleep. This is a problem.
But what if he recruited someone else?
doesn't matter how he did it.
I stand up on my bed. I look at all the cups of water and I say, Lucas, you never learn. I literally run up the wall and along the ceiling down to the other side.
As a matter, imagine you like I kind of imagine the Spider was just like, and then just goes about their day completely normally.
Yeah, it's just I leave all the cups of water there.
Walks on the cups.
Oh yeah, I just tiptoe over the cups.
Doesn't disturb, just casually walks across them. Doesn't
picks them up and sips them occasionally.
Yeah.
I mean, Lucas has no idea there was a nightingale floor in the other place. So.
Yeah, I think because all these guests are staying
I forgot
now, aren't they?
that. Lucas, you're just gonna say Spider didn't bother explaining what had happened in the other place at all, did he? So the group
I mentioned it to Jazina and Equidian, but I didn't really tell these guys. No.
Okay, so the group's completely in the dark about what happened. Okay, it's fantastic. Okay, keep going, Spider. So yeah.
Well, are all of those guests from the ball, are they staying on the estate for the second day?
I'm just going to say, the problem is at this time of day, the sun's up or thereabouts, so everybody's doors are all the doors are closed and the shades are drawn. Pretty much the same way they look when the place is empty.
Yeah, no, I understand, but is the expectation? Did we see them? Planning to stay?
I was just going to say, I think it would be reasonable. That at least the bulk of those guests would probably be staying here. It would make sense for why there's just so many bloody guest rooms. If you're going to throw a party,
and similarly, their guards and stuff would be around.
Yeah.
But were they mostly Ebon Elves too?
For lack of a better way of putting it, the crowd was almost exclusively Ebon Elf. I think every entourage has probably got a non-Ebon Elf in the group just for handling daytime affairs on the surface. But so there might be a handful of new faces kicking around, running on daytime schedule. But again, this is an Ebon Elf estate, for lack of a better way, but where the pulse of life is not that of Glitter Delta Cove. It's uniquely this place. So the only reason that this place actually employs Ebon Elves, non-Ebon Elves for staff is because it just means that the equivalent of hiring it's you don't have to hire a night staff and have them up at stupid o'clock in the morning making bread and all of the other stuff. This is just literally these people's normal schedule, and so it's not inconvenient to them to be the wait staff, if you will. Because a place like a mansio or a mansion or whatever pretty much runs 24/7. Just the job of the kitchen. Keep in mind things like bread.
Stuff.
Bread making and all of that other stuff. There's a ton of work that just runs constantly. So normally.
So I think
Go ahead.
Because I know there wasn't a lot of things Spider could eat on the breakfast platter in the previous day. So I think Spider just walks into the kitchen and there's like the skeleton day staff in there probably making the equivalent of bread or whatever.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a kitchen on the go kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and he just like walks over to the cold box or whatever, and like as if he owns the place, and starts like rummaging through it and picks out leftovers from like the ball food, and
Yeah.
is eating like charcuterie and various canapes, and
I'm just gonna say at one point, I think interestingly enough, there's going to be this collective moment where everything in the kitchen looks at you and then goes back to doing what they're doing, and just.
I'm sorry, did you say everything in the kitchen looks at you?
luckily the cold box is the only piece of furniture that's not a mimic.
Oh no.
They put a watch wall in the kitchen because you can't trust these people.
Does a beast live here? Do they start singing Be Our Guest?
I adore you people. I love being able to do shit like that and have you catch it. I know so many groups that just gloss over that.
Oh no, never.
So, yeah.
Does this turn into a musical, Michelle?
Don't tempt me.
We should do a
The musical episode?
It's been a rough week, and I'd love to listen to you lot sing. So, and straight up, one of my favorite Buffy episodes is One More Time with Feeling. So, brilliant piece of how to use storytelling with a sledgehammer right there. So, all right. So, yeah, no, the place is just...
But I think generally Spider is just not... It isn't... I was about to say not making a nuisance of himself, but I realized what I just did might be considered making a nuisance.
Well, interestingly enough, there's going to be one point where a halfling will stroll by, lugging a pile of dishes that are still in desperate need of scrubbing, before they go sentient. And says, he says, yeah, we've all got the same problem. I can't abide Ebon Elf palate either. We also use he says, he points at another spot. That's where day staff food is, and where you're all guests. I can't imagine the boss would care too much. If you snagged a little noshi out of that, just make sure everyone else has had some first.
Oh, that's quite kindness of you. It's a little too much liquor even for me.
Well, he kind of pauses. Well, and that, like, he kind of... I can't stand the taste of vinegar. Oh my gosh, and they use it in everything. And he strolls off.
Well, yeah, as he's walking away, I just sort of like stroll along next to him and I say, do you need a hand with those?
Yeah, just you take the top half. I'm just going over there. The proverbial massive boiling cauldron of,
Yeah, and I think Spider takes them over. Presumably the guy expects me to then leave, but I'm just gonna like help him wash dishes. Like I'm just gonna ingratiate myself with the staff.
Yeah, sure. So his name's Fizzo. He's been working here for a better part of half a decade. Technically, he's an indentured servant, but he doesn't care. Honestly, these people are
not a bad life, probably.
I'm just going to say, of all yes, he's indentured insofar as he's basically working off a debt. But bluntly, of a long list of people he could be working for, these people make it look. This is damn near luxury living for his world.
And at least you're not down the tunnels, eh, mate?
He shrugs. I spent 6 months down. 6 months at the other estate. It's not bad. It's just dark all the time. I mean, he shrugs. I mean, I can see in the dark, but after a while, it's depressing. I don't know how they do it.
Oh, damn it! I didn't write down the word you told me. That means blood drinker.
I've got it.
Velbloodran.
Yep.
Yeah, bloodran.
I don't know if that's how to spell it or how those various things are broken apart.
I will post it. I'll post it.
Oh, wait, you may have posted it, so maybe I did write it correctly.
There it is.
Oh, I almost got it right just off Sam's. There we go. I didn't get the hyphen.
I as soon as I realized that I put a hyphen in it, I was like, oh no, that you almost certainly there's no way I put a hyphen in it without having seen it. It's just like, that's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so at some point, like after we've gotten familiar, and he's mentioned being down in the other state, I say, "Did you ever run into a Velbladran down there?"
He kind of looks at you. The pauses. You sure you don't drink that much? Why the hell would I go anywhere they are?
I just heard that there's a fair lot of them down there, is all.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's kind of like saying there's a fair bunch of bandits. They don't come on. They don't operate in cities. They don't operate on estates. They operate in the gaps in between. All the creepy things that live up here. Same idea as the creepy things that live down there, and vice versa. They hang out in the places that people don't have weapons. Or, there are concentrations of armed patrols. Besides, he says, I don't know of anyone who's actually ever met one. I'm not even sure they exist. Kind of a woo, scary story. If you run off in the dark by yourself, a Velbladran will get you. Shakes his head.
I've met too many scary stories in the dark to feel that way, my friend. But
well,
pass me that dish.
I appreciate the help. So, what brings you lot here? I thought you're guests, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We're contractors for the family.
Okay, yeah. See a lot of them come and go. Aquidian's got his fingers in everything.
Honestly, these kind of digs, not quite for me. I get bored easily.
I figured at the point you were washing dishes.
Don't like ordering people around too much either.
Yeah, that's actually the worst thing about... If there's going to be a worst thing about this place, is that everything is phrased as a polite request, but it's actually not.
This place being, the Confederacy.
Kind of pauses for a bursts out laughing. I suppose you're right there too, aren't you? Yeah, it's just the way of the world, isn't it?
So far. And that's probably all you need to see. Spider just spends a bunch of time doing chores and then probably goes for a swim or something.
Yep. Sure thing. All right. What's what? Now, this is an odd question, probably, but what's okay.
Did we just move?
Yes, you did. Spider and Cheval. Spider. And
my video just dropped.
Have just flippied. There we go. Come on back. There you are. Chevalier, odd question for you. What does breakfast time for Chevalier look like?
A lot like lunch and dinner.
Well, I figured.
Obviously he hasn't gone to sleep because it's not something he does.
Yeah.
So, his night, he sort of hung out around the ball for a bit longer, and probably actually, kept up time-wise with a few of the with the elves, and then once everything was done, probably just sort of went back to his spot in the guest area, and then as people started waking up, he sort of occupied himself around, really.
Yep. You're going. By the way, you will have attracted some attention, particularly as the crowd starts to thin. There's going to be a few people, basically idle chatter, and a little bit. Chevalier has been around social circles and the upper cusp of things, particularly during Elena's ascendancy, to recognize what political questions sound like, even if perhaps he's not too terribly adept at fielding them. So there's definitely going to be some political questions asked. Who it is. Interestingly enough, everyone you talk to just automatically presumes you're the bodyguard. And so the first half of the crowd that's going to be chatting with you are all going to be ebon elves who are all basically part of the the sandbaggers of their respective entourages, basically just talking shop and wanting to know how things work on your side of the world. as very much in that, so they're sort of asking you the same questions you figured would probably be far more appropriate to be fielded by Spider. Oddly enough, nothing too granular, but just in general parlance. And I mean, like I say, you've done enough with particularly during Elena's ascendancy. That you sort of are kind of probably going to find most of it amusing, but there's going to be this how in-depth and chatty is Chevalier going to be about his experiences of being a bodyguard?
Like he's not like he's more than happy to chat with anyone who comes up. Like his position's kind of unique where he's like, he was definitely like from the outside looking in, he definitely would look like a bodyguard working for the Donadu household.
Yeah.
But for Chevalier, it's more sort of like a sense of like, it's like, well, yeah, I'd go hang out with my friend. And if someone tried to do something, I stopped them because I don't want them to do something to my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you defend your friend, are you your friend's bodyguard? Like that's not. So he's sort of like and a lot of it's kind of thing like a lot of labels that other people give him. He's more sort of just like, sure, if that's what works for you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. It's like there was particularly early on. There was a lot of stuff where he was just like, I can't affect this. Like, and it's always about just particularly for him, just trying to explain things. He's just sort of. He just got to the point where he was like, look, you want to call me it's easier to explain by just saying, oh yeah, I'm their bodyguard.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's fine.
I don't need a house. I don't eat. I don't sleep. So
yeah, he doesn't get paid.
Standing down on the street corner waiting for I just hang out over here for want of anywhere else to hang out. Yeah.
Like he started taking holidays because Elena was like, you need to go somewhere else. It's like, stop. It's like, and she's like, oh, all right. Like, you actually do need to explore places. Please. Experience the world. Don't leave yourself trapped here. It's like, all right, fine. Go visit some of the other Anvil Company people, wherever they're. But, he's probably just happily just chatting with whoever is there.
Right. Very good. So what's his morning going to look like? Obviously raiding the kitchen is not high on the list of things to do.
Yeah, I mean, currently doesn't have a huge to-do list, really. Like, he kind of thinks after how like yesterday played out, he's happy to sort of give how the morning went and then how the evening went. He's probably sort of like, well, still need to give Lucas space. Probably should give Alexandre space. Spider's more than capable of looking after, of doing whatever Spider needs to do. Oh, he's just sort of.
All right.
He doesn't. I don't think there's anything actively he's looking to.
All right. So what's
particularly in the morning?
What's breakfast for Alexandre going to look like?
Alexandre spent the night in a tree. Alexandre's not leaving the tree. She's going to cast sustenance, which means she doesn't need to eat. And spend the day in the tree.
All right.
Because why leave somewhere that's nice?
Okay. Lucas, what's breakfast look like for Lucas?
Well, for Lucas, breakfast would be, I mean, he got up before Jasper to put all those cups around. So he's been up pretty early. He would have definitely had a nice hearty meal, but I reckon he got the night staff or even the day staff to make him like enough food for the morning. And he would take that in like a bit of a packed lunch. And I think breakfast wouldn't be so much something he would focus on. It'll be something on his way because he wants to go do some training. He's going to go out into the gardens.
Okay.
Whether or not that's near Alexandria's tree, I don't think he knows where she is. So I think he's going to do some training with his sword. Yeah, I think he's going to experiment.
All right.
I don't think he knows exactly what happened the day before happened, but I think he's going to, go back to his old roots of training and try and start afresh, see what he can do.
Okay. Does he have a do not disturb sign up, or if someone stops to chat with him, is he open to chatting? What's his body language? Is he being tightly focused on his training? Is he in full armor? Is he working with a practice sword, or is he just chunking, or is he taking chunks out of the target dummy, wholeheartedly? What's he doing?
I mean, he's not wearing armor. This isn't about training in armor. I think this is purely about the opposite, like making sure that he's got. I mean, he's also feeling out the damage from the day before, all those little kinks and everything. But I think it is it's going through routine stuff. I suppose from the outside, he would look like he's being busy, and he'd be taking breaks. I mean, he'd have his whole food and everything set up there. It would be like he's got a little pack set up. So, definitely not. He's not giving off a vibe that he shouldn't be undisturbed.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so essentially over the course of the morning, it's going to probably cross Lucas's mind that he's probably had the entire day staff drop in to watch for a few minutes and then carry on.
Okay.
None of them are actually fighters, but they all seem absolutely enthralled by what it is he's doing. So they all take, like I say, I think that will be the impression he's left with, is probably across the course of the morning he's seen everybody who's awake here.
Right. Nice. I mean, part of this as well would be, I mean, he'd be trying to build up because he's also just had his leg fixed, and he's trying to nut out exactly what it can do, considering it's not quite perfect, but it's...
Yes. Back to working condition, but not good as new. So yes, there's some odd little quirks to it. Agreed. The good news is that most of the things you're doing so far doesn't seem inclined to betray you, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. That's good to know. I think it's definitely pleased by that.
Yes. So towards the middle of the morning, then, at some point, Trollmac will stroll by. Watch for a little while.
I definitely know he's there.
Oh yeah, he for lack of a better way of putting it, he very politely makes loudly crunches some gravel, and then makes a bit of noise as he rearranges a couple of things on a bench that don't need rearranging, so he can sit and watch for a couple of minutes.
Brilliant.
So he politely letting you know he's there. He's got a tankard in his hand as he watches.
Brilliant. I mean, I suppose Lucas would be very much letting him know that he knows that he knows, like that kind of thing, but it's also very much like pretending that it's not going to phase him, doing his best not to let it phase him. Yeah.
So at some point, Trollmac will just out of the blue says, "So, bad back leg, huh?"
Yes.
Yeah. Your stance isn't bad. The only thing I'll let you know from this side, it shows really obvious, and a capable fighter like, I don't know, Lancium will see it. is that when you step back, you never fully extend because you're worried about your leg. So that means you always come up short. Someone presses you real hard, they'll run over top of you. Learn to stretch on that back leg a bit more. Otherwise, not bad. He gets up and he leaves.
Right. I'm going to see if it's possible with the leg to do what he asked.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know if he knows that it's a it's a prosthetic.
He didn't. If he knows or if he doesn't, that's just it. I mean,
yeah.
But it hadn't occurred to you. It hadn't even occurred to you that you might be favoring that leg,
Yeah.
or trying, or hedging your bets, as it were. So I'll tell you what. How about just for sake of drama here, let's we'll get you to throw a couple of dice just for some drama.
Oh, I love drama.
So start out with a might roll. I'm just curious about something.
A might roll.
Yes.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, that's a good one for you.
Yeah, that's a great one for me. I realized the other day the mathematics of the rolling and the exploding dice is that as you going from 1 to 2d6 is huge because you just get more chance for explosions. And
Yeah, statistically, that's actually
Yeah.
the single biggest thing that advantage does.
yeah,
Oddly enough, you're better off stacking d6s as opposed to d8s
yeah,
mechanically.
yeah. Alrighty, here we go.
It's a quirk of the system.
It's not great, but that is a 14.
14. Well, 14's
Yeah.
I mean, 14 I believe is very close to a quote heroic. That's a challenging outcome. So okay, and then just for amusement, make an agility roll. Two agility rolls, please.
2 agility. Ooh.
Agility rolls, yeah.
Okay, that's the first one is a 9,
All right.
and the second one is a 22.
Sweet. So I think what you can sort of, I think the first roll represents the fact that as you're sort of paying attention to what you're doing, you realize that, yeah, you're restricting yourself, if you will, in your ability. Anytime you have to, Lucas, you've always sort of described Lucas as an advance and a trudging forward kind of fighter. And what basically Trollmac's comment was is that you don't back up because you have a big leg, which is sort of fits into the character. I think that 9 represents you going, oh, yeah, I don't back up all that often, do I? And the 22, I think, is you figuring out oh, yeah, okay, that does work. It is an option for me.
Great. That's good.
Yeah.
Great. I think there's a little bit of like a moment where Lucas is just like, what does he know? Because he's like, he's not the one with the leg. I mean, coming over here and commenting on my guy, whatever. But then, yeah, definitely. Great. That's good. I think the idea that he, that it is comforting to know that it is something that he can fix.
If he's conscious of it, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So the afternoon is going to roll around. Is there anything anybody wants to do between across the course of the afternoon?
Yes.
All right. What's Lucas up to for the afternoon?
I think Lucas is going to try and hear the song.
All right. Where?
I don't know. I think he's just going to like have one little moment where he's just like close his eyes and just think if he can just flirt with the idea of trying to hear it.
Sure. So okay, and for you, the stat you've invested into is creation, yes? Or is it?
I put 1 point in creation, yeah.
So go ahead and make a creation roll then. I just want to see. Basically, I'm looking for misbehaving dice.
That's a 19.
A 19. I think you're going to hear the sound of. I think you will actually be able to hear it. And oddly enough, it seems to be coming out from the orchard. Like, it doesn't seem to be physically near to you. It sounds like it's over that way somewhere.
Okay.
Is faint.
Interesting.
It is there. You can hear.
Yeah.
You've heard it enough times to be able to recognize, even as faint as it is. But yeah, you can definitely hear that.
Okay. I'm going to follow that.
Sure.
I'm going to go in the direction of where I can hear it.
Do you have a specific thing, Michelle? Because I have a scene that it could make sense for him to walk in on.
I don't have a specific thing. What are you thinking there, Jamie?
I'm wondering whether in my time helping him with his chores, I have convinced Fizzo to play a joke on my brother.
Fuck.
Unless the joke involves hanging out under the tree that Alexandri's in, probably they wouldn't encounter you.
Sorry?
Unless the joke involves you hanging out under the tree that Alexandria is in, I don't think they'd encounter you. They literally would be heading the wrong way, I think.
Yes, no, I would be finding him the other way.
Ah, very good then, sure. So, okay, so what is the nature of the joke then? Because that might be...
So when Lucas emerges from the training or whatever and starts heading towards the orchard, he encounters me holding Fizzo up against the wall by his shirt lapels and saying, "I know you took all my socks, you bastard!"
And Physio will be doing his mute Muppet flail best to look panicked, purple in the face, and desperately terrified for himself.
And like I wink at him because I'm facing away from Lucas. I wink at him and I do like a fake slap and do like the whole nap. Like he claps underneath me.
Yeah, except he has no. His deception skill is a -1. Physio is the sort of person who can't drink milk without it looking like an emotional experience, and so. And so I'm not sure how convincing he is, but he's going along with gusto.
And like at this stage, I'm also I'm dripping with water, and I said, "I could have forgiven you for that, but now cups of water all over my room, ridiculous!" And I backhand him.
Okay.
So I'm Lucas.
I'm running over. I was like, Jasper, what are you doing?
And I look over, but I'm still holding the gnome and shaking him. I'm like,
Halfling.
halfling. Sorry. I thought you said okay. Well, then I'm probably barely holding him up. This sneaky servant. He stole my socks.
Stole your socks.
Yes. I know it was him. And
How? How do you know it was
water
him?
all over my room so that I would roll out of bed and get wet.
And I'm gonna do a little roll just for myself here.
Do you need me to roll deception?
This is logic.
Okay.
Do you need me to roll deception, Drew?
No, it's just me.
Okay.
Glad if Lucas knows his brother. Okay. Brilliant. That's good to know. And I'm looking at the two of you. I'm looking at you, Jasper. I'm like, Jasper, do you have proof that he took all your socks?
I found the socks in the kitchen.
Right. And I'm going to look at the halfling and say, "Did you take his socks?"
He beakers.
And I look at Lucas, I say, I bet he's the one that put the glue on your door too, messing with all of us.
Say, I'm going to say to Jasper, Jasper, I think you need to put him down.
No, I'm going to report him to the family and make sure he loses his job or his fingers. And I look back at him, and I like point at him.
Jasper,
Further muppeting ensues.
if he was the one that put the glue on my door, then, well, kudos to him. I think you're just upset that you've been fooled.
I like slowly turn my head towards Lucas. It was you. Why would you do that to your own brother, Lucas?
What?
Why would you steal my socks and chase me around the house and beat me to a pulp and now put water in my room?
Because you're my brother.
You are a bully, Lucas Edgewater.
Oh, come on. I'm not the one holding a halfling up to a tree.
Let the halfling go, I say.
Well, I never. Then he tromps off. Like I say, doing his absolute best at 4'1¼ to look 6 feet tall, pissed off, and grumpy. No matter how hard he stomps, he's just not shaking the ground. It's just not working.
Did you find all your socks?
Yes.
Okay. You might want to go looking in the shed for all your underwear too.
Hang on. Why would you glue your own fingers to the door?
Oh, come on, Jasper. I know I'm an idiot, but I'm not that much of an idiot.
And Jasper just like wanders off looking confused.
The shed is over by the smithy.
Just change direction.
Let me guess. When he arrives, there's nothing in the shed except tools.
Just hunt through the shed all afternoon finding.
I reckon, yeah, there's either that or I've spelled out ha ha. Underwear.
By the way, you two are a good example of why it is I'm glad I have a sister and not a brother. Thank you.
Oh, the number of times I've had my head pushed into a bucket of water by my older brother.
Two younger brothers?
Washing my hair.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I mean, I have a sister. Whenever we got into an argument, she'd sit on me. So sisters ain't great either.
What's that amazing? I can't remember the comedian, but he keeps talking about he's got a son and a daughter, and his son is like they're just painful, but girls are evil. Like his daughter.
Okay.
Chantal will remember this.
So is Lucas going to continue following the song, or has he been completely distracted and forgotten about that now?
No, it's still. I think it's still there. I think. He's still going to follow it. I think.
All right.
I think he's also concocting the next thing to do to his brother because he knows. Also, he's probably like thinking of all the things that his brother's going to do to him.
Yeah.
Like, is kind of like okay.
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah. So
I'm going to. So we're actually going to be heading into the break in just a moment. So I believe it or not, we've been at this for almost an hour already. So Lucas is going to find himself standing under a tree with a dress on the ground underneath it.
Very neatly folded from memory.
Yes.
Yes.
and puts in such a way that it was not going to get dirty.
Yes.
So an expensive ball dress, neatly folded, laying on the ground underneath a tree, is where we're
Great.
leaving Lucas. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Like I say, leg stretches and refills, and then we'll pick up with Alexandria, of course, looking down from her position, in quarter past obscured up the tree at Lucas looking at her dress. So we'll be right.
Summons drop there.
So we'll be right back. Folks, thank you very much for your patience. I made the mistake of actually watching the kettle, so that took longer than it was supposed to. But yeah, we're back now. Watch kettle never boils, right? So
I understand now. It was metaphor.
So yeah, right then. So Lucas and Alexandria, take it away.
Yeah, I think seeing the clothes at the bottom of the tree.
Yeah, just by the way, the way Alexandria described it in her blog post is she's sufficiently far up that while she may be able to look down through it, looking upwards is practical. All you're going to see is a green wall. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
It would be more. I know what Alexandria was wearing the night before.
Oh gosh, yes, you were dancing with her. It's
But it's folded up, so I assume that it's like the same color. And knowing that the song kind of was coming from this direction, I can kind of piece it together.
Do you need to roll for that?
Yeah. But I'm going to look up and see if I can find her. In the tree. And look around.
All right.
I'm going to call out Alexandria.
What kind of a tree is it, Michelle?
Just because I find it hysterically funny, it is going to be an overly leafy peach tree.
What time of year is it, Michelle?
It is early spring. So the only way you know it's a peach tree is because not because there's fruit in it, because you recognize the leaves.
Yeah.
It may be blossom season. You're mid-spring. It could be that that the orchard currently right now is rife with a combination of blossoms and bees. But yeah, there's definitely no fruit here.
Okay. I was hopeful. Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything.
Okay.
I think Lucas not knowing where she is, seeing the clothes folded. I think he wouldn't stay around longer. I think he'd keep trying to look for her. I don't think it would really cross his mind that she would climb the tree.
Reasonable, yeah.
No.
Where does he think she is without her clothes?
That's absolutely like confusing him.
Is this a winged lizard folk all over again?
I know, right? Like
Is she flying?
Lucas
up
is
the
going
tree.
through a bunch of things, and it involves him. Like I reckon he's walked around the tree a couple of times to just see if she's on the other side, and she's Yeah.
That's just funny to me. That's just
A couple of times. He'd call out a few more times for her.
sorry. All I can think of is Piglet and Pooh doing heffalumps and woozles.
I mean, if he calls out more than once,
Yeah, he would. Like he'd have a look around and be like, Alexandria.
what?
Of course you're up there. What are you doing up there?
Giving you space.
She says to the fellow standing at the bottom of the tree she's in.
And I think you look down at the clothes and look up to you. Have you been here all night?
Yes.
And all day?
Yes.
How is your butt not sore?
I have not sat in one space the entire time.
Right, where are you? I can't see you.
Up here.
Okay, are you going to just come down anytime soon?
I don't know yet.
Okay. Are you okay?
I am in the tree.
That's not the sort of answer I was expecting.
Yes. Why are you here?
Well, it might please you to know that I tried to hear the song.
Okay.
And I heard it coming from here.
Congratulations.
You don't seem very happy about it.
Should I be?
I don't know. Well, I'm not going to bother you anymore then.
Why did you heard it and you're here?
Well, I tried to listen for it, and then it was coming from a different place. Why wouldn't I follow it? I want to know what I can do with this.
Whatever you want. Which was what you decided you were going to do.
I'm going to leave you. You seem like you want to spend more time with your thoughts than with me. So I'm going to, I'll see you at dinner. Or not. Do you want anything? Do you need anything?
Yes. I need to know what you would do if you had full control of La Chanson.
Full control? I would use it to save my brother.
From what?
Whatever comes his way.
Does he need saving?
We all do, Alexandre.
I don't.
Alexandre, as much as you might not think it, everybody needs saving at some point. Afternoon. And Lucas is going to go.
All right.
Alexandre is going to climb down from the tree.
She will be harangued by a chipmunk who has desperately been trying to figure out how to get through one of those leather thongs, because it would make an excellent addition for its nest, and you've just interrupted it.
Well, I think I can actually talk to them.
And you tell me you're not a princess.
Look,
Kronk.
Alexandre tells Spider she's not a princess.
Squeak him, squeak him, squeak him.
I mean, I can squeak 'em. I have telepathy.
Yes.
Stop it.
Have you ever heard? I know that Chantal has an interest in things French. Have you ever heard a Quebecer go off on a rant in French?
Oh my goodness, yes.
So that's what you get from the squirrel. That's the and he just straight up in French, worse in Gaspésie, which is sort of a dialect. It's a rural dialect from the northeastern quarter, and it involves an awful lot of invective from two other languages, neither of which are English, and an awful lot of hopping up and down in place and fist shaking before it stomps off in a grumble.
Like with
I imagined it was my high school French teacher. That was a great experience in my head.
like I was going to say, because we've kind of been like using French as a raft stand-in for like Elvish, but is it like it's Elvish with a halfling accent but swearing with in Dwarven?
Yes, close.
Good times.
Coming from a squirrel?
Squeak 'em, squeak 'em, squeak 'em.
You have officially been squeaked.
I have been squeaked. It squoke at me.
Squeak 'em, how dare you?
Language. So climb down from tree. Lucas, what if it's the songs that needs help?
If the song needs help, then we help it.
Do you mean that?
If the song is good, and it needs help. Then why wouldn't I?
If the song isn't good, it made a very bad choice choosing me.
Why do you think the song isn't good?
I don't. I think it is.
But the question's there.
What?
Well, you asked it if the song isn't good.
Because you said, if it is good. To me, it is not an if. It is good.
If the song isn't good, then we have to keep a very close eye on it. If it is good, then we can trust in it. But Alexandre, I know you are good. Whether the song is or isn't.
Are you good?
You know, sometimes I feel as though I struggle to believe that I am. But then I look at people like Tolman and other people we have met. And I kind of think that if it was a scale, I'm definitely not down the bad end of things. Alexandre, just because I may have reservations about the song doesn't mean that I wish ill will of you or it. I don't want to hurt you. I would never try.
I don't think you would. But I think you have the ability to, regardless.
We all do. Look, let's there's another ball tonight. How about for one night, Alexandre, we forget the song, we forget all of the dangers in the world, the fact that we are hiding, the fact that we are, the people want us, I don't know what. Let's just forget all that. Remember that we're on an adventure and have some fun.
Okay.
What have you got to lose? For just one night.
A lot.
Like what?
You said forget the song.
Well, I mean, it's almost impossible for you to forget it. So
Yes.
maybe just put it in the back of your mind. So it's still there. You know it's there. And you can always grab it whenever you want.
I'll try.
Promise?
I promise.
Awesome. Now come back. You must be hungry.
No, actually, I cast a spell and I don't. Yes, I'm hungry. I can't sustain it that long.
Great. Here, I have a couple of apples.
Where do you get these apples from?
Oh, I
They're
got them.
everywhere, and it's not season for apples.
Look, I don't know. I suppose they grew them underground. These ebon elves are mysterious in many ways.
Undergrapples. I couldn't.
Don't.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Cuts to one of the house staff. I don't understand. The decorative apples, they keep disappearing.
Yes. So good.
Alexandria gets halfway back to the house before realizing she left the dress, and then going back to get the dress.
Great. I suppose Lucas won't wait. I think I'll just keep going.
Okay, that's funny as hell.
And then Lucas starts singing to himself
Okay.
as he walks along, just like...
What is he singing?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. I'm just taking Sammy's note for a
Musical
lead into a
episode.
song.
Yeah.
All right. So that afternoon, is Chevalier up to anything, or is he essentially just idling and?
I mean, imagine like there might have been like a moment where like, if it is possible to see the orchard from like the building, there's a thing where like Chevalier sort of like has seen this and has gone good, and then just like,
Yeah.
I don't need to.
Yeah.
Because he was there, like Chevalier was very aware of where Alexandre was, and so he was sort of against being like, yeah.
Like I say, the front.
Even on the time, if she'd stayed there all day, when she came down, she would have found a new dress.
The mansion, like I say, it's 3 stories on the front plus turrets. So if you were up in the top of one of those turrets, you could basically see the entire bloody aisle.
Camera just pans up, and there's this like Chevalier staring out the window, and then like the curtain shuts. That was unnecessarily ominous. Why would you? Okay.
All right then. Early evening, of course, will arrive. The place is going to start waking up, of course. So, evening. Anything anyone is concerned about doing in the early part of the evening?
What time was the matriarch supposed to arrive?
You weren't told.
Right.
Just that she was coming for
Yes.
at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I think that's mostly what Spider's waiting for. I think Spider, as like the sun was setting, Spider retreated to his room and all of his cups of water, and is staying out of sight.
Okay.
Doesn't particularly want to be spotted by the guests again.
All right.
Lucas would probably, after training, need to clean himself up a bit.
Well, gosh, yeah.
He's made a filthy mess right now. So yeah, whatever that involves.
I was just
that
gonna
whole
say,
process.
well, like I say, there's the bathhouse, yeah, which I've described to you before, or as Spider does, you can just literally ring up and have one of the servants drag a bathtub to your room and a bunch of buckets of piping hot water and a couple of buckets of chill, and you can mix to your heart's content, and
Great. Ooh, can he do like the hot bath, the ice bath, the hot bath, the ice bath thing?
That's essentially the way that the bathhouse is built. There's a steam room, a hot bath, and then and then essentially a well water plunge pool. So earth water is never above 12 degrees Celsius at the best of days. So when you've just come out of something that's literally been charcoal heated, it bloody well feels freezing. So yes, you can indulge in that back and forth as many times as you like.
Oh yeah, no, he lives for that.
All right. So I think at some point in the middle of the early evening, if you will, there is going to be a bit of a buzz that kind of ripples through the place, followed by what is undoubtedly going to sound like the ringing of bells and a couple of trumpets being blown. Yeah.
Alexandre would have spent the afternoon taking a nap and then doing the whole ballroom thing to look good because the important person's coming today. So
Yeah. Fair enough.
yeah. So when she hears that, she's headed out.
Okay. I just because I think it's you're actually pretty much going to run all but face first into Aquidian, who's going to be intently heading the other way, looking over his shoulder at something else, hence he doesn't see you until it's nearly awkward. And then both of you manage to fetch up just before you wind up looking really awkward together. There you are. Just the person I was looking for. Well, indirectly. Tell your friends that my grandmother has arrived, and she would like to meet you and your friends in the north sitting room in a few minutes. He kind of looks at you, pauses for a moment. You look much better now than as an adventurer. However, yes.
Thank you.
So tell your friends, call it 15 minutes, half an hour. The north sitting room, there'll be tobacco and drinks already.
Okay.
Thanks very much. And he immediately turns around at his wheel, and in that sort of self-absorbed, clearly has a list of things he's working through in his head, heads off the other direction.
Alexandre goes and just knocks on everyone's doors and just sort of yells the information through.
Okay.
She doesn't wait for people to open doors.
Sure.
Come in.
I already told you what I was going to tell you if you open the door.
I can't hear you through the door.
Just seeing if I have any ability to, like, smash in a door magically. Because if I do,
I'm just so what? So okay, great mustache. So summoning a breaching charge. What would that be?
Look, if you can't use entropy to deal with the door, you're not trying hard enough.
can I make the door melt away? Can I just melt the door?
Also,
What do I roll for melting the door?
You likely also have the access to the Summon Chevalier spell.
This is true. I do, in fact, have that. But I
It might
kind
not
of
always work.
want...
You might just be like, no.
No, he wouldn't do that. He's my friend. Friends help friends out. What is the melt door button?
It sounds like an entropy roll.
Can I just roll entropy and make it melt?
Technically,
Please?
yes, because
Guests in this house.
entropy is straight up the stat used for things like disintegration.
Can I do that?
Go ahead.
Mostly just an attack roll, surely.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's an attack with entropy. And then a ridiculously high enough amount of damage melts the door.
That's an 18.
Okay, so, I think, hang on a second here.
Do I make it thinner?
I
don't mind just making it thinner so I can yell again.
actually, for lack of a better way of putting it, I think what's going to wind up sort of happening is that there's going to be this hole, this space right about in front of you, right about, sort of your eye level, that just sort of rots and turns to splinters and collapses in on itself. So there's this jagged edged hole straight through the door.
I said...
So when you look in, you see me in front of the mirror in a full tuxedo, but all around me throughout the entire room are just cups of water.
Aquidium wants to see us in 30 minutes. His grandmother has arrived.
Does he want to see us, or does she?
North sitting room. She does.
How do I look? Turn around. I've got like a bow tie on.
You look good. I don't think you should bring the glasses.
Oh no, they're Lucas's.
Why did Lucas leave all of these glasses in here?
I don't know.
going to
You should ask
drink
him that. Huh?
Are you going to drink this water?
No. Why would I drink all that water? I'd have to pee every minute on the minute.
I suppose it's one way to avoid getting drunk.
That's not a bad idea. No, I wouldn't drink Lucas's water. I am sure he left it here for a reason.
Okay. 30 minutes.
Do you know why he took my socks?
They were in the ballroom. Did you get them back?
I found them in the kitchen.
Lucas is strange.
I think he's a bully.
You know, sometimes I don't disagree with you.
All right, I'll meet you in the north sitting room.
Yes. Knock, knock, knock.
All right.
I don't know who I'm knocking on now.
Just knocking on Chevalier's chest.
You see, I think that would be funny. Chevalier would open the door and knock anyway, just because the little girl Alexandre would do that. All right. Is anyone not going to be making the appointment in 15 minutes to a half an hour in the north sitting room?
No, Lucas would be definitely responding to the knocks on his door.
Okay.
Yeah. And similar to Jasper, I reckon he would be pretty much almost ready. His outfit would be like a military-esque kind of like how you imagine Prince Harry when he's in his red jacket and all of that.
Military dress uniform, understood. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. What's interesting, most militaries, particularly any of the Commonwealth militaries, literally have got the equivalent of a tuxedo that is for ball occasions. It's actually part of your issued kit. It's highly regulated as to what it looks like. And so interestingly enough, they call that mess kit. It's the least messy thing in your typical army guy's inventory, and yet that's the name they use. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, definitely not messy, but very crisp.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, are you going to be there 15 minutes? Are you going to be there half an hour? Are you going to be there 40 minutes? Anyone? What's the collective plan? Are you going together or arriving individually?
I'd probably head over with Alexandre.
I'm probably I get there first somehow. I think I've gotten the most used to the layout of this place because I've just sort of been exploring it a lot, and Spider's good at that kind of casing a joint thing. Yep. And so Spider's just like waiting outside the door but hasn't gone in.
Okay.
I mean, Lucas wouldn't be too far behind.
Fair enough.
If they were all that, like, he knows time.
You say it like that. He knows time.
I'm slowly, as we go further into this, I'm realizing the things that Lucas has a grasp on and things that Lucas doesn't, and I think time is one thing that he has a
I
grasp
do like that his own intelligence isn't one of the things he has a grasp on.
Yes. All right. So the north sitting room is actually as I described, the mansion is essentially a hollow square with a rose garden in the middle of it, and then the 5 odd hectares of land around it. It's set to the south of the property, so it's not in the middle. It's about 1/3 from the southern edge in. The southern edge is where the docks are. The north tower. The north drawing room is actually the bottom floor of the northeast corner tower. There's sort of these 4 they're faux turrets. They're of no military value whatsoever. They're literally just to look cool. And so the north sitting room is the northeast. So it's this curved round room that's largely glass, looking out over the orchards and everything beyond to the north of the place. There's a substantial fireplace. There's all kinds of very posh-looking artwork on the walls. There's all kinds of rich rug and tapestry. But it's all with the Ebon Elf color palette. So there's going to be at least one piece of canvas, which is just going to be described as purple. Essentially, your eyes don't have the granularity to see the color differences in it that the Ebon Elves do. So to you, it just comes up as monochrome purple. It's just that it turns out it's actually got splattings of ultraviolet and infrared paint in it. So while the background color is optically purple, you're literally not able to see half the painting. And that's just the color, and of course, we discussed this, right, in the ball from the night before, was that obviously the living underground, as the Ebon Elves tend to do, their optical range is noticeably different. They seem to have a bald spot, if you will, in terms of color perception, right in the middle of the yellow part of the spectrum, if you will, and then as they get out towards the edges, they get better grasp of color. So there's a lot of things that there's just color selections where a human or an elf might use a silver or a gold. They're using purples and reds, only really odd shades of it. So that's what this place is basically bedecked as. It's rich, dark-colored woods. To an elven sensibility, someone needs to turn the lights on. Gosh, this place is dark and somber. But that's also sort of the atmosphere of the ballroom, and everyone was partying themselves silly last night, so apparently that's not the way that the Ebon Elves see it. And there's probably a dozen ebon elves there as you folks all arrive. There is a particularly grand-looking comfy chair. It's the best way of describing it. It's what happens when Chesterfield makes a throne. There's just there's just no other adequate way of explaining what this thing looks like. Aquidian is here, as is I can't find her name. I'm having
Renamala?
No, Lashadi. They're basically standing to either side of the big presumptuous comfy chair. And they're both of them actually have their heads dipped, chatting with the woman who's in the chair. Zadreza and Jazina are also here. They're off to one side, currently apparently raiding the liquor cabinet, pouring themselves glasses of something. Yeah, and so there's a couple other faces you don't recognize. And as you four walk in, of course, there's kind of the door opens. It makes no sound whatsoever, and yet there's this beautiful set of chimes that rings through the room, and everything stops and looks at the door. And at that point, the woman in the chair beams. She has ash skin. Garnet is the best description for her eye color. It's hard to tell her physicality because she's sitting and she's wearing this beautiful set of absolutely formal robes. It's what happens when you cross robes of state with a ball gown. It's the best description I can get to. She has violet gray hair, but she's got it in a mohawk of all interesting. It's a cropped mohawk, so it's not sticking out like 3 feet in the air. It's it's a solid line down the center. It kind of folds over slightly. It's a violet tone with a hint of gray in the roots. And she kind of looks at all of you with a critical age. Her eyes come to rest on Lucas, and she says, "You must be the Edgewater."
And I'm going to bow.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, Lucas Edgewater, thank you for your hospitality.
Lashadi will speak up and introduce each of you in turn. And then she will introduce the woman in the chair as Eshinani. She is, quote, grandmother Eshinani. And she'll have a sip of the at this point, Aquidian has strolled over, or very quietly ghosted is a better way of putting it, off to a side, gotten a tray of drinks, given one, allowed Eshinani to pick one off the tray, and then brought the others over towards where you are all, and a couple of servants have just sort of materialized literally from a concealed door off to a side. Spider will notice it, because that's the sort of thing Spider looks for, is literally the piece of furniture that's ever so slightly out of place before and after they come and go. They just literally show up with chairs, sit them down a short distance away from, sort of in a semicircle, and then vanish again off to the side, just completely ghost-like. Please sit down. Enjoy. And there's a little table that Aquidian will set drinks down on.
As Spider sits down, he has to sort of like fold up the bottom of the trousers he's wearing, which he's borrowed from somewhere. This because this tuxedo is clearly not made for him. It's an ebon elf style tuxedo, which he's borrowed from the house.
Yeah, the color palette just ain't you. Yep.
Yeah, but as he folds it up, he like elbows Lucas and he says, Always wanted to wear one of these.
You look great.
So, it has been a long, long time, she says with a slight grin. And you are the absolute spitting image of your grandfather. That is absolutely uncanny.
You knew him?
Oh, absolutely. When she kind of glances at Equidian. That is part of the reason I had him. I had my grandson invite you. When he told me that there was, when he informed me that there was an Edgewater in his employ, I laughed at him. And Equidian very politely rolls his eyes over in the corner. From where you kind of, he's not, he's used to getting dunked on by his grandmom is the best way of explaining that expression.
That's such a great sentence.
Dunked on.
Dunked on by your grandmother.
Yes. But the girls, she gestures at Jazina and Zadrezo, assured me that after a little bit of digging, you were in fact the real deal. And he kind of glances at Alexandre, glances at a Chevalier, and you can sort of the subtext is, and by process of elimination, and you must be Lucas's brother then.
Yes. Jasper Edgewater.
Jasper.
I suppose.
Very good.
If you don't mind me asking, I barely knew my grandfather.
Oh, you poor child.
What was he like?
I could go on for hours. So we met under very amusing circumstances, actually. He crash landed in the roof. They had to make an emergency landing on one of the earlier test flights. One of those little details that doesn't make it into the Confederacy's history books. And I joke, they clipped the weather vane off the top of one of the spires. Nothing big deal, but I always teased him mercilessly about crashing my parties. And he was a fairly handsome fellow back in the day. So, but dashing, intelligent, charming, an absolute disdain for nobility, which I found absolutely endearing, given what he was clearly so strongly working towards. Yeah.
And
a remarkable intelligence, remarkable intellect. I think that's probably the thing that struck me so much about him is when he realized. She kind of chuckled. She's about to say something, and you can quite clearly see Lashadi elbow her politely.
As that happens, I look at Lucas and I say, "Well, I suppose the resemblance can only go so far."
I don't know. Remarkable intelligence seems to sum Lucas up quite nicely.
I'm going to look at Jasper and be like...
And I laugh at the comment.
Yes, friends, the only people you can genuinely count to tell the truth of you in the worst possible way. She laughs again. At this point, several others, the Ebon Elves in the room, all have a good chuckle as well.
Or is it one of them's appointed the laugher?
No, it was just more a moment of they all kind of went, she really did just say that aloud, did they? Oh gosh, Grandma.
Great. She can get away with it.
Yes, that's There's you are all getting the vague sensation that is exactly the case. Grandmother, they're all trying to be formal, upstanding, noble citizens, and then there's grandmother who happens to run the show.
Seems really familiar to Alexandre.
Right?
I was just going to say, I think actually
With a mohawk.
I think that's going to be probably Alexandre's reaction is there's this vague sense of hanging out with an ebon elf equivalent of Gromere. She's completely aware of the power she wields, and she's completely irreverent about it.
I like her.
How long was my grandfather here?
He visited 4 times. The original visit was only the span of about three or four nights, just essentially doing a few repairs, spending a little bit of time being social and what have you, apologizing for the weather vane, that sort of thing, and then, after that, it turns out that this place happens to be relatively well positioned for his excursions up towards the mountains. So he'd drop in for a visit.
And did he tell you what he found?
She pauses for a moment and says, "I ask why you're asking." What he found was well documented, young Lucas. Literally, there's an entire history book about it written. The Confederacy crows to the detail of what it was he found. Why do you ask?
Well, just like they left out the wind vane. Jasper and I want to find out what else they left out.
She pauses for a moment. I shan't spoil your adventure for you, but you'll definitely want to make your way to what is now Cliff Spider, and you'll definitely want to chat to Ambassador Totori. Tell him I sent you. He'll no doubt have some interesting news for you.
Of course. So
Quidian will politely cough and say, "Should you really be name dropping like that?" At which point, literally every woman in the room's eyes are going to really, did you say that? Sorry, says Quidian.
Is that name noticeably of a particular culture?
Sounds, just going to say, honestly, sounds dwarven to you.
Interesting.
Well, we can't thank you enough for letting us stay at your manor.
Oh, she waves. He gestures towards Quidian and Jazina. Tell me you've earned it. Besides, beyond the fact that the relationship of your grandfather. She pauses for a moment. Trust is one of those things you wouldn't believe is incredibly short commodity. You wouldn't believe how many people we ask to do simple things for us and immediately can't find anyone trustworthy. Always.
The simple things you ask people to do usually involve fairly serious safety precautions.
She pauses and looks at Aquidian. What did you do? Aquidian is suddenly all, who, me? There's a little item of art that needed retrieving, and I just had them handle that for her. Then they've done exactly what they were asked to do.
Well,
This moment of I don't believe you, that's the best expression for
Yeah.
what is clearly on her face. and she looks over, and she will look at Jasper and say, "So what did he ask you to do?"
I was contracted to retrieve some sort of urn from a rival family. And really, it was a piece of luck that I happened to be well versed in how to traverse nightingale floors. But
so she kind of looks sideways at Equidian. Equidian shrugs. If I didn't think they were capable of doing it, I wouldn't have given them that task. The question is if they could keep their mouth shut afterwards. That was I had every faith they'd get it done. Why would you? He pauses for a moment. He kind of looks deeply offended. Why would I waste the opportunity for both gratitude and kindness over something over sending the wrong people to do the wrong job, dooming them to failure, as well as my not getting what I want? You raised me better than that, grandmother. She chuckles.
I have a question for you about my grandfather.
He's a favorite topic of yours, isn't he?
He is. I wish dearly that I could have met him.
She pauses for a moment. She kind of looks at everyone in the room. As Ebon Elves, family is everything to us. And there are few greater tragedies than not knowing your own family. It's the worst possible fate to any of our kind, so I understand what you mean.
This might seem like a strange question, but what did he like to drink?
Oh. Well, it depends. She chuckles. When he was visiting here, he absolutely adored one of our vintages. Generally speaking, it was a whiskey from down the south. Not someplace just outside of Shining Capital makes it. I can't remember the name of it, but he absolutely adored the stuff. Equidian, actually not Equidian. It will actually be Zadreza. Will just casually stroll over to the liquor cabinet, rummage through, pull out a bottle, and walk over and drop it in front of Lucas. That stuff. We've been keeping a bottle here for the past 75 years.
I think Lucas is like just speechless. He's just like.
I'm just going to say, and there's this vaguely amused look on Jazina's face as she side eyes her grandmother.
May I?
I would just going to say. Sorry, hang on. Michelle's laughing. I think Ashani would try. At the point she's passing the stuff out for free, may as well have some.
Great. I'm going to turn to the others and say,
a servant will just sort of appear from nowhere, drop a tray of basically empty glasses off, and then curtsy bob and vanishes sort of offside.
I'm gonna look at everyone. Alexandre Chevalier and Jasper and say, look, I know I haven't been drinking recently, but this one deserves to be drunk.
We're going to have fun.
Of course we are.
Equidian speaks up. He says, in our culture, we have a toast. It's usually given for private moments of introspective and celebration. The rough translation into the human common tongue is to those who've gone before in the stories they've told us.
That sounds lovely.
So yeah, in short order, everyone's got a full glass of something in front of you. If Spider is going to decline, then he'll wind up with a glass of some fairly sharp-flavored.
I think I'll take the glass, but I'll only have a very small sip with the toast. And
yep. Yes. So yeah, so toast is given. Some idle chatter goes on. Mostly, it seems to be a perfectly social call.
Well, then I would like to invoke my silver tongue trait.
Sure.
Because if I'm in conversation with an intelligent creature for more than 5 minutes, I learn one secret about them, and I would love to know a secret about Grandmother Nani. I've forgotten her full name.
Sure. Okay, Alexandra, what were we going to ask?
I just sent you a question on Discord.
1 sec. Yes, no, that's perfectly fine. No, that's not. That's go. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, go ahead. That's fair game as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, sweet, good.
So, I think Spider. So Michelle will I will give you the option for refund in case it was something Spider had already concluded. So for lack of a better way of putting it, you have the secret that immediately comes to mind is that Grandmum and Granddad were a thing at one point, at least on a visitation basis. Now, if that
I mean, I had definitely pieced that together, so I feel like.
So the question is I'm just going to say now, if that's news to Spider, then you don't get a refund. But if it's not news to Spider, then go ahead. I can give you something else.
No, I don't think. I think he would work that out as quicker than I would, if anything.
Fair enough. So I think the other thing is that she's absolutely here on business. Not your business, but she's not here,
right?
Because she's not here for.
She wouldn't have come just for us.
Yes, this is she's taking advantage of the fact that she has to be here anyway to deal with other things, and she's just taking the opportunity to catch up with the grandson of an old flame, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah,
well, I guess at some point, then how casual is the chatter, or is it all one conversation?
I think at the point it becomes obvious you all speak Elven, then the conversation is going to wind up pretty much a relatively. Keep in mind you're all technically cousins, so this isn't. You're not visiting, you're hanging out with family from the perspective of the Elben Elves. So basically you can engage anybody in the room directly, or it can be part of the greater conversation. So I'm trying to, there are a couple of other people in the room, but it becomes very obvious to Spider they're the grandmother's personal sandbaggers. So they're hanging around. They're
basically family anyway.
I'm just gonna. Well, no, they are actually family. It's just that, she's probably the tallest, curviest ebon elf you've ever met. In the way that Geisha used to keep. The chopsticks all used to be thrown in some circles. And he's probably the most broad-shouldered and pipe-wired ebon elf you've ever met to date. So clearly they had additions, and she picked a couple of people who are family, completely trustworthy, and will, could, when pressed, use somebody else for for base material for origami.
Yeah, right.
And how much like Lucas do they look?
Well, at some point, probably while we're sort of having the introspective moment, Alexandria would like to use Whisper of the Wild and ask whether or not Lucas Edgewater Sr. is alive.
Oh, okay. And this is a yes/no question. It's a binary gate question, no detail.
This is a binary question.
So yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay.
Officially, he's MIA, by the way. That is the Confederacy's official description of it. He and his airship were lost on one of their explorations into the Sky Anvil Mountains. They basically missed a checkpoint. They never heard of, seen again, presumed lost with all hands. That is the tragic loss of a pioneer and blah, 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 blah. So that is the official story that everybody who's ever read a Confederate textbook has ever seen.
Good to know.
At some point, I would like to sort of move closer to Equidian and say to him, is there more business to be done? I can see very clearly that your grandmother won't be handling us personally.
Oh, he kind of looks at you, and sort of sotto voce says, "Will be plenty of interruptions later on. Now, if you're all tiring of the chatter, I understand that this is as much a curiosity for her as it is for your brother. But if the rest of you are looking for a good excuse, I can provide one."
Well, I presume you've learned of our disposition in the city.
Oh, you mean that nasty little piece of paper?
Nonetheless, if there's more work that you need doing.
Oh, I have a long list. Bluntly, trust is one of those things that's perpetually in short supply on the sunny side of the tunnel. So,
how far do they go, your tunnels?
He kind of smiles. How far do you fancy walking?
Huh. Dangerous, I presume.
He kind of pauses and he kind of looks at you, and glances at Alexandre, looks back to you. The biggest single problem is that almost everything that predates down there hunts light sources. So now, he says with a smile, I might be able to fix that for you if perhaps you were looking at walking your way to a nearby city as opposed to taking a boat, because who'd think to look for that? But we can talk trade later.
I'm not the boss anyway.
He kind of looks at you and smiles. Keep telling yourself that. I'm sure they'll believe it too.
I think Lucas is going to just pepper Shinani about his granddad. Like, it's going to be little things like, did you go with him? Like, what is his favorite thing? Like, did he read books? Did he
I was going to say, so at one point in time, she's basically, so amongst other things, apparently they have a substantial library here. And it's there, he absolutely adored the library here. He was an avid fisherman. He was an avid sportsman. He just absolutely sounds, in her retelling of him, he absolutely sounds larger than life in a way that probably to Lucas is going to be almost mythologized. He was a chess. He's
a hero.
He was a chess player. He was an engineer. He could sit up all night talking philosophy. Loved, strong Scotch and cigars, et cetera, et cetera. And showed at one point in time, there'll be a sort of a bunch of giggling amongst the Ebon Elves. Showed absolutely no fear at the sight of an Ebon Elf feast. Et cetera, et cetera. But he absolutely, I guess the best way of putting it is he absolutely sort of stands out. All of the stories sort of, if you will, jive with Lucas's hopes. It's the best way of explaining the conversation. Every once in a while, by the way, Jazina will be politely and as subtly as possible giving her grandmother a shove in the a poke in the corseted ribs whenever she starts getting too enthusiastic about chatting about Lucas Senior. Because again, the elven perspective was just a few months ago, right?
Yeah.
That's one of those scalar problems elves have with human time. Human lifetimes are 100 years. That's the first half of an elven life, right? And so just, mentally you look back on things. I know, Michelle, I keep looking at the 1980s and the 1990s in some cases like they were a few days ago. And I have to keep telling myself, no, Michelle, that was 30 years ago, back up. So for her, recollections of 60 years ago were the same thing.
Dare you?
Well, yeah, I'm just at the time. I'm trying to remember the timeline. He went missing, 35 years ago or something?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Just before we were born. I'll double check it. But
Yep. Hang on a sec. Yeah.
I've got the website up.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's. I think, if I remember correctly, it's something like Lucas was it's between 3 and 5 years old when the ship vanished. All presumed lost. So Lucas's memories would have been absolutely the funny, fuzzy, formative moments of getting to see Grandpa working on the airship, or hearing all of the stories, and the fireside chats, and maybe even sitting on a workbench and that sort of thing. But I don't.
According to the timeline, he actually went missing 15 years before Lucas.
Oh, okay, I remembered it wrong. Very good then.
Yeah, all of our stories.
So that would have been your father's experience. Yeah.
All of our stories were from our grandma.
Yeah. Yes.
She told us all everything.
Yep. Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
So I think, probably I think any of the stories you would have heard, would have been from your grandmother. I think probably your father would have spoken about him, but only in that way of hero of the meritocracy and a shining example for what everyone should aspire to be, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that she said that he hated authority. That is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Captain was a title that was given to him. It wasn't a title he actually put a lot of stock into. In fact, I think probably one of the most telling comments she'll make is that she doesn't actually refer to him as Captain. She actually tends to refer to him as designer, because any time that was sort of how he referred to himself, was sort of out of the public eye. He was just the guy who designed the thing. From his perspective, it was his crew that were getting the stuff done. He was captain because the Confederacy told him he was captain, not because that's actually what he agreed to.
Yeah.
So he was chief designer, sort of.
I reckon at some point I'm going to turn to Jasper and I'll just say, Grandma's stories were right.
I never doubted it.
No, but it's just nice to hear it.
Grandmother, would it be appropriate for me to call her that? Because
I was just going to say, technically, yes, because, and this is something, again, often they won't use your names. They'll just call you cousin. And if the person doesn't answer, then they'll qualify with Cousin Jasper or Cousin Alexander.
Yeah, right.
Just everyone, it's that semi-formal familial.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone's aware of the fact that they're sitting that everyone in the room is nobility, and everyone is very aware of the fact that they're all sitting there, wearing their ball clothing, and they're all sitting in the drawing room, and somebody's essentially sitting on the chair on the Chesterfield throne, etc. Like, so there is an aura of familial formality that goes with that, but at the same token, it's all pretty open chat. Like I say, it didn't take a lot of guessing for Spider to have clued in that grandmother's got a bit of a torch for granddad.
Yeah. Well, so I think, he turns to her and says, Grandmother, I apologize if this is a somewhat painful question, but before he disappeared, his last trip, did he stop here on his way?
She nods. He always did.
And did he say or give any hint that he was planning something different up on the plains or somewhere he might be headed?
Just one sec. I need to roll something. There's going to be a long pause for a moment. She nods. I had a sense that I wouldn't be seeing him again. I can't explain why, she says. But all of them were very determined. They had something important they needed to do, and that's where they were going. And so I wasn't surprised when the ship was declared lost by the Confederacy. I think she pauses for a moment, and you can see Ch1 is going to actually interrupt her again, and Aquidian drops his hand on Ch1's shoulder, in the sort of way that it seems completely out of character for the interactions between Aquidian and his sisters. And then Ashani will say, he's too good a navigator to ever be declared lost.
Well, you think he's alive?
I think he found something. What that means, I don't know. See, she says, and this is one of the... She pauses for a moment, and again, she's speaking Elven. Because at the point they figured out all four of you could speak and understand Elven, even with a bit of an accent. They're just speaking Elven. She's going to pause. She shakes her head. You don't build something as remarkable as that ship, handpick a crew from the brightest and cagiest and wisest across an entire nation, and then get lost. I find the phrase offensive.
Yeah, it's never made much sense to me either.
But what do I know? Not much, other than he stopped in. He stopped in for a visit. We had an arrangement commercially where he would resupply the vessel here because just short, and that was before before the Confederacy had come up with a working arrangement with. Hang on a second, Michelle can't remember the name of the city at this point. Just checking the map real fast because Michelle's bad at this sometimes. Bloody hell! There's a little country state just to the south of. Yeah, there we are. It's Dasseldorf. It's Dasseldorf. This is before, of course, there was an agreement with Dasseldorf to use it as a way station. Technically, technically, Spearcleft was somewhat hostile to the Confederacy back then, so we couldn't stop there for supplies. So, and there were still some rough feelings about the Confederacy in the Cove back in the day. So yeah, he would stop here for supplies. We would make arrangements for him to have everything they would need. He would load up, and then that would give him another. Well, basically, he'd cancel out the cost of the flight from the capital all the way up to here. profited from it. He profited from it. It worked well for everybody.
Do I get any sense that like she's hiding something?
Actually, I rolled. Even if she wanted to lie to you, she couldn't, based on the roll I made.
Sure.
With advantage, she couldn't lie to you if she wanted. So that's why she was being completely an open book in that moment about the fact that she's deeply offended at the idea that anyone would declare him lost.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Excuse me.
She pauses and looks. Everyone kind of is sort of that moment looking over at Alexandre.
When he passed through, did he ever mention a song?
Oh, good question. 1 sec. That I need to roll for. She's going to frown. I don't think so. She kind of actually will look at everybody else in the room, at which point Equidian will mutter something about half your age, and then she'll nod and stop looking at the
Order of your
kids. No. Why?
Well, it's part of the reason I am traveling. And I wondered whether or not he was going the same way or had found something similar.
I don't know. Where are you going? She says with a laugh. Do you know?
She points in a direction. This way.
There's a pause. She kind of chuckles. Well, interestingly enough, that is pretty much the direction he usually flew, yes. That's the closest route to the mountains from here.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else? Is there anything anybody else wants out of this scene? Because otherwise, it's just going to be light, fluffy chat until at some point in time, someone is going to show up at the doors, crack them open, and say the guests are arriving. At which point, everyone's going to go, "Oh my gosh, the time!" And it'll be.
Yeah, Spider on the way out ends up shoulder to shoulder with Equidian again and says, after last night, I think perhaps I might stay in my room. If you have any interest in chatting, feel free to drop by.
There's going to be this brief pause. He's going to raise an eyebrow at you. That's unfortunate. Amato was asking about you, and we'll keep going.
Alexandre on the way out is going to sort of edge near to Lucas. Edge near to Lucas. Sorry.
Wow.
I got myself. I played myself on that one. And say, I know I said that I would put the song to the back of my mind tonight, but I had to ask it a question. Your grandfather is definitely alive.
I think if Lucas was walking side by side, he'd just stop. Say that again.
Your grandfather is alive.
How do you know that?
I asked La Chanson, and it said he's alive.
The song can do that.
I have to ask the right question.
He's alive.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to dance?
Okay. Yes.
Let's go dance.
Okay.
As we make our way to the hall before we actually get into the ballroom,
The ballroom, yeah.
at one point, like probably, down like maybe potentially even like at like the main entrance or something, there's like a male and female ebon elf who are sort of rapidly talking to each other in sort of hushed, and when they see Chevalier, they're very excitedly, so they're both like, please, and is gesturing to him, and he excuses himself.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. We're going to take a break, folks. We are overdue for one, so we're going to take a few minutes. Everyone leg stretch, and then we'll come back, and we'll see where the ballroom goes. So, if the place was busy last night, it feels like there's probably an additional 20-odd% head count this evening. The party starts pretty much. Official celebrations usually start around midnight, this is sort of the meet and greet. It's not so much the ballroom is open as it is being. The ballroom is open, but there isn't any music being played. It's just currently going to be an awful lot of people socializing and all of the I haven't seen you in ages. And of course, between elves that means radically different things than humans. And an awful lot of just chatting and such going on. Followed by a sort of en masse stroll down towards to the marina to watch another absolutely spectacular fireworks display. If last evening's seemed a bit over the top, it was clearly the dress rehearsal for this evening. And so, again, obvious uses of illusion mixed into the actual fireworks themselves to create these massive moving dioramas, just absolute paintings in the sky that probably would be visible for kilometers around. It's just going to be absolutely breathtaking. Probably 5 solid minutes of this massive display. Anybody who's ever tried to plan any kind of a light show of any kind understands how it's hard to do a 5-minute solo of anything. It just takes it's so yeah.
There, like you mentioned, you can see, because obviously you can see him for a while. Are there like at a sort of like respectable distance, I guess, that's like a group of boats?
Yeah.
That like a bunch of people have been gone, like there's people, and what I'm imagining is there's like people who are in no way invited to this party, but they're aware that the Ebon Elves do nighttime celebrations for this thing.
Yeah.
So people have gone from day celebration here, have hopped on a boat, have traveled close enough so they can also get to see this.
Probably.
And then like, now we're done, and they're going to head back to Glitter Delta Cove.
Or even, and keep in mind, this entire area, when the water level is 2 to 3 meters lower, is a massive, fertile farming district. So basically, every low hill around here has a village or town on it. And the places that don't have low hills have literally built entire villages and towns on stilts just to be able to ignore the water level, so they can take advantage of the gem scavenge, as well as the farming. And so, there's probably boats all over the place, and some of them probably haven't sailed as nearly as far as Glitter Delta Cove, because this is sort of the manor house, if you will. And sure, it's a 5-hectare hilltop, but if you drop the water level substantially, it's sitting in the middle of prime agricultural district as well. Right? That's the thing, is the view from the flood, if you will, radically distorts what's going on around here. And so, yes, there are absolutely going to be innumerable boats of a variety of sizes, all basically staying outside of the safety zone, if you will, i.e. not doing anything that might convince an Ebon Elf sorcerer to preemptively sink you. Yeah, and yet able to watch, the display and all of the amazing glory to it. And same as last night. There's a couple of barges that are probably a football pitch off the end of the marinas where they've been anchored, and that's actually where the fireworks are being launched from, as well as as well as whatever illusions that are being used are probably being cast from over there. And then you're all sort of down on the quay itself and on the banks around the edges of it watching. And there's literal orchestral accompaniment that's being played, by a whole bunch of folks who are literally have dragged their instruments down to the water's edge and are sort of playing these massive, beautiful orchestral pieces that are essentially the fireworks are being timed against the music, if you will, producing this absolutely spectacular effect. And once that's done, then everyone packs up and troops back up to the main ballroom, back to the mansion itself and into the ballroom. And while you've all been gone, the wait staff have been rearranging the place from the equivalent of a social club to an actual formal grand ballroom with a space for the orchestra to sit. The buffet tables have been placed, and again, the Ebon Elf take on buffet is you wander over to a pile of ingredients and you tell the chef standing behind them what you would like him to you would like him to turn them into, and he does his best, and he or she does their best to do so. And the music is huge. Like I say, there's a combination of fire and magic is powering the illumination for the room. The chandelier glitters in all of its glory. There are couples, like I say, sort of Venetian waltz style of dance. There's huge music. Yeah, that's... So how long are Lucas and Alexandria going to spend whirling around the floor?
Well, I think Lucas is going to, yes, dance with Alexandria, but I think he's just going to anyone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
I think he's just in the best mood ever. There are a couple of questions that he's got for Alexandria. Like, she said that there are only certain things she can find out. So I reckon Lucas is going to ask her, like, well, do you know where Granddad is? Like, little things like that. Where do I go? Like, how do you, like, is he okay? Like, that kind of stuff. I'm just going to be like, do you know this? Do you know all that? Yeah.
No. and no.
He's not okay, or
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Where is he? Do you know where he is?
No, but I assume where we're going.
Great. Can you ask the song where he is?
Not really.
Okay. Can you ask the song if we're going in the right direction to find him?
Check spells.
I believe the stated limit is once per session.
Yes. Unless you have prescience to power level 3. The answer is no, still. I'm not strong enough in it.
Okay.
No, not
Okay.
yet.
Not yet. Lucas is like, his mind is ticking. He's like, okay.
Are you going to do something stupid?
I feel like I want to. Alexandri, thank you so much for.
Please don't get yourself killed.
I'm not going to get myself killed. I just want to dance and scream, and I want to run down into the garden and take all of my clothes off and jump into the lake.
Please don't get yourself killed.
I'm not going to do that. No, it's fine. My grandfather's alive.
Yes.
I might get to meet him.
Maybe.
Well, we got to
You think
find
it would-
him.
I thought that's what you were doing anyway.
Well, yeah, we were going to just retrace his steps. I didn't.
Didn't you believe he might be alive?
Honestly, I dreamt that might be the case. Yeah, my father had given up on the idea. So I did too.
He went to the same place, or in the same direction at least, that I'm going. Do you think he could hear the song?
I don't know. Maybe. He sounds like a pretty incredible person.
Yes. She has a crush on him.
Oh, they totally were banging.
I wasn't going to say anything.
No, it's pretty clear. I'm more concerned that Grandma didn't know. Like, my real grandmother. But hey, they must have sorted out.
What if you're related to a Gwydion?
No, I can't see in the dark, so I don't think there's much chance of that.
Your ears aren't pointed enough.
Nah. Pretty rounded.
He spends a lot of time with humans.
He does. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe we are related. Shall I ask him?
I think it might be in bad taste, but I also want you to ask him.
Well, We promised we would have some fun. Let's go ask him.
Okay.
Let's go find a Quidian, Michelle.
At that point, the main doors to the ballroom sort of open. Mm-hmm. And, like, someone's done something, like, to sort of enhance the effect. So, like, there's, like, it's like someone's, like, set up, like, a fog machine somewhere or something. And
Yes.
Chevalier is standing there. Mm-hmm. And he's doing something that even Alexandre has never seen. He's wearing a full set of clothes. He is in an immaculately tailored tuxedo. Although, one of the more interesting things that is immediately apparent is, so we've seen like the armor goes away. And he's clearly done that because he's not nearly as bulky as he normally is. But even when he was doing it before, like the faceplate, but also the mantle that goes across his shoulders doesn't go away. Yet the clothes are under the mantle. So it's still on top, which like every part of it is just like the fact that he's just huge. The amount of effort, everything about it implies is like it's just couldn't have done this. Nothing about like, but it's like this. It's very much in the sort of Ebon Elf style, but it's also clearly someone's clearly put thought into playing off the fact that he's got, you know, he's this sort of black material and also, but also the white mantle and the white, and everything is playing off that. So it's mostly, it's in sort of grays that play off it with like an ascot that is sort of a different color, but it's sort of like a centerpiece. Can't see, but it looks like there's something on the ascot as well. And there's two incredibly excited elves sort of either side of him. And he walks into the space.
All right. Suffice to say that there's an awful lot of wait what moments. But the thing is that everybody here sort of knows each other, and there's, but as always, as with places like this, there are family rivalries. So everyone else is trying to be as nonchalant about their nonchalantness, about refusing to be taken aback by this clear party trick that the hosts have played. Yeah, oh yes, very dapper, but and desperately trying not to. What the fuck? Excuse, but so there's like I say, so there's this from Alexandre's position, there's this very obvious moment going through the ballroom where everyone's desperately trying to look as nonchalant, or sorry, more nonchalant than the person standing beside them, because they don't want to be clearly taken aback by the party trick, because everyone's presuming this is a party trick.
Meanwhile, Alexandre's just standing there like. Everyone else is trying to be nonchalant. Alexandre's like, huh?
Lucas is like, this is the best ever. Like,
V, you look amazing.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, he brushes up well. Like, not that. I mean, I've never seen Chevalier like this. Like, Lucas would never have seen him, but Lucas doesn't know that this is also a thing that Chevalier has never done either. So, to me, this is like...
Like, even when, because it's also like... Because it is also like, when he was wearing the trench coat, clearly wasn't like... Like, it's kind of like just bizarre that there's an armored section on top. Is a bit sort of... And just sort of the logistics of that is kind of... It's a bit weird.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of like, he's sort of, I guess to a degree, is also trying to be as nonchalant as possible. Like,
yeah,
Go ahead.
But the elves either side of him are not.
They're clearly
They're very excited because to sort of like, I guess, sort of a lot of as he goes past, the elves would definitely work this out, but probably not. Alexandria and Lucas wouldn't. Is that it's not a trick by the Deshamali, because essentially the two elves are like high-end freelance tailors. And so what has happened is like earlier in the day, basically at some point where Chevalier has just been like towards the end of the night last night had been just like chatting with whoever, and then he just made mention that he just sort of like, he's like, yeah, it's kind of, he's like, he'd never been to one of these as like a guest. He'd always been here in sort of the official sort of like that's how he got in, was like, everyone was like, well, he's there to protect, so we have to let this thing in. But he's like, it's this weird feeling where it took him most of the party to suddenly realize, oh, I'm actually here as a guest. And these two went, I'm sorry, hang on. What? And there's just a large amount of magic has gone into this. And it's sort of like, but they've basically gone, here's the deal, you can do this, it's completely free to us, because there will be no better publicity. Like they were just there because there was some family was like, something had happened, and then goes, you need to do something on the way. So they basically had like this sort of mobile setup.
Amazing.
That they're like, we can just like do this. And if we do this and everyone else suddenly, and like,
yeah, this is
the amount of business this will generate. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
This is better for us than it is for you.
Yeah.
And incidentally, there's going to have been at least everyone's seen Aladdin, the part where Robin Williams as the genie does the outrageous New York tailor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah.
And he just wait. Yeah. So he goes. It occurred to me, I have never been to one of these as a guest, and thank you. And he indicates the other elves, like Siora and Ilfas said that, well, I should dress the part.
And you look the part.
All right.
I think at some point, Lucas is going to be very, very aware that Spider isn't around. So at some point, I'm going to go try and find him.
All right. I think process of elimination is going to mean that, rapidly he's not in the garden, he's not in the ballroom, he's not in the kitchen. Rapidly chatting with anyone around there. Have you seen? Nope. We'll wind up putting you outside Spider's door, in not a huge amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going to knock.
Mm-hmm. There's a hole in the door.
I poke my head in.
There's like a piece of cloth over the hole
exactly.
for some privacy.
Yeah.
For privacy, I pull it aside and like, Spider?
Oh, Lucas, it's you. Yeah, come in.
What are you doing here?
So in the room now are like 10 separate stacks of water glasses.
Okay.
Still
all like 5 feet high, still filled with water. It's like like the House of Glasses?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's that. And he's just like sitting on the bed, cross-legged.
You've been busy.
Yes, a dexterous enterprise.
Why aren't you at the dance?
Just, yeah, you guys don't know me to keep you safe in this environment. And
Alexandri told me something tonight.
did she now?
Apparently she can talk to the song and it can tell her things. And
Apparently.
she asked the song if our grandfather was still alive.
What?
And the song said yes. He's alive, Jasper.
You hear this song, yeah?
Yeah, sort of.
Would it have any reason to lie to her? Do you think it's capable of lying?
I don't know. I mean, maybe. You think it's lying to her?
I don't know. He's an old man, if he is alive, and lost somewhere. I'll be honest, when I said I wanted to take you in search of grandfather's ship, I was expecting to find the ship, not the man.
You think she's lying?
I hope not.
Why can't you believe in something why can't you believe he's alive? What's stopping you from taking that chance?
I don't want you to be disappointed, Lucas. You know, all the stories that grandmother and now grandmother have told us, the point of them isn't to worship Captain Edgewater. It's to learn who we should be. I don't care that our grandfather was a great man, but I care about you becoming one.
Jasper, come and dance at the party.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
No, you're coming.
No, well, I somewhat made a spectacle of myself after you left last night, and I think it's best that I do not.
No, you're coming
appear-
to the party. Everybody's dancing. Alexandria's dancing. She smiled. Come on. Chevalier just turned up and he's wearing a suit.
Okay, well, that I do have to see, but.
Come on, wait.
Okay, let's go. Oh, my goodness.
Jasper, I know the stories about grandfather can't all be true. But I want to believe they are. And I want to believe he's alive.
Me too, Lucas. Do you think Grandma knew that he was boning an ebon elf?
Oh, definitely. In fact, I reckon she told him to learn a few things.
That does sound like her.
Now, will you have a dance with me?
Yes.
Brilliant.
All right. Meanwhile, back at the ballroom. What's Alexandria gotten up to? And Chevalier.
Chevalier, probably as like Lucas had sort of turned to sort of go find Jasper, he sort of glanced down at Alexandre and he says, I don't think I can reasonably still claim to be one of the best dancers in the room. But if I might have this honor. I didn't catch that.
Of course.
All right. So there's going to be absolutely, again, it's one of those things about Open Legend as a system. I'm going to just say you look marvelous and no dice rolls are required. The scene looks perfect.
No roll for good looks. What?
I was just gonna say, well, the funny thing is like I say, my immediate reflex as someone who's spent, mumble years running D&D is, okay, so, dex check or something. Do you fuck this up? Excuse me, I gotta stop doing that. But it's just, no, it's just, why the adversarial? So I think it's just fantastic. I just love the idea of Chevalier and Alexandre, particularly given the character backstories, to have that moment of whirling around a dance floor. I think it's just, I think that's fantastic. I like that. So the place is going to be just straight up busy. There's an awful lot of people here. Like I say, probably the head count has come up by about 20% since last night. Obviously, more people showed up from wherever. And one of the things you're going to actually be seeing is that a lot of the hired help are actually out in their including some of the day staff, are out in their dress best. They're clearly not here as servants. They're clearly here as guests. So that's probably something that's going to be a little bit different, because in amongst all of these ebon elves, you see you're not the only paler skins whirling through the room, as it were. And there's an awful lot of people hanging out and chatting. There's drinks being poured. There's all kinds of buzz. There's beautiful music being played. Yeah. And then Jasper and Lucas will arrive. So I presume Lucas is leading, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I definitely.
Yeah.
Jasper is also trying very hard not to get carried away.
Mm-hmm.
And just be a very dutiful following partner.
Uh-huh.
Question. Mm-hmm. Is Jasper a good dancer?
Jasper looks like, in this particular dance with Lucas, Jasper looks like a very competent dancer, but not a good one. Just like a
Competent, but not competitive.
that.
Yes.
Just like dutifully following as
A competent following dancer.
Well, I just
Yeah.
one of my favorite remarks about everyone goes on about Fred Astaire, but you got to keep in mind that Ginger Rogers was doing the exact same dance.
Oh, yeah.
the same dance routine in high heels and backwards.
Yep, backwards and heels. Nobody remembers that. It's always backwards and heels for us.
So yeah, as someone who's done ballroom, yeah, I have competent followers harder than in some cases than leader.
yeah. But like I imagine there are times when Lucas tries to like induce something tricky.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like get me to do a spin or something, and I just don't. I'd like do the most basic practical version thereof.
Yes.
I know a dance partner. I'm gonna make sure that Jasper does these spins.
Yeah, I mean, you would know, like Lucas would know that I can dance better than this.
You can. I reckon there's gonna be. I'm like, come on. I'm gonna loosen up, relax those shoulders.
I was just going to say, what's going to be amusing is the moment as you know, Lucas and Spider go spinning past Chevalier and Alexandre, and then vice versa a little while later. I think that's just a beautiful moment that probably needs a thing. To
Yeah.
Yes, Chantel. What you're hearing in the background is we have my real life sweetheart raises chickens, and we have a brand new pair of what are called showgirls and a cockerel to go with them. So they're what I call pom pom chickens, and so he's just figured out. So yeah, they look like Muppets. They're hysterically funny. And his actually it's funny. His name is actually Jasper, and he laughs, and his crow sounds like a laugh. If you're here in the room, what I hear is ha ha ha, and I'm desperately trying not to snicker every time he does it. So yeah, that's what you're hearing in the background.
I mean, that's what we're hearing too. It's great.
And there's a concrete wall between me and him, by the way. That's a simple wall between me and he and I. So yes, for big lungs for a little Roo. Anyway, so yes, so all right. At some point in time, I think Aquidian will wind up asking Alexandre to dance. I think at some point in time, Zadreza will probably wind up asking Lucas to dance. Runamal is seen at various points in the evening about the place, chatting with people, hanging out, and big grin on her face and what have you. So yeah, is there anything anyone wants to do with this evening's scene?
I want to desperately avoid whoever I was dancing with last night.
That would be Emato.
Emato.
Yes. Slightly tall, slightly husky, deep blue skin, yellow eyes, white hair, and a long ponytail. Remarkably good dancer, remarkably charming. Yeah, that he would be the one who basically over the course of the evening had basically danced with all of you, and was a remarkable flirt at all terms. So yes.
Yeah, I'm probably spending a fair amount of time with Renamala. I think we hit it off pretty well, and so
Wanted to at some point as well, actually.
All right.
well, there you go.
So yeah,
Although,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, at some point, Alexandre would ask Aquidian, probably while they're dancing, about the caves.
Well, just because you two were whirling around the floor, he's. You get the impression he's probably at least as good a dancer as Lucas is. He's, for lack of a better way of putting it, he's obviously had lessons. This is something he practices as part of his arsenal, if you will. Which means that essentially you two have plenty of time to chat. You don't have to focus on the dancing, right? So,
Yeah.
What is it about you want to know?
How far away it is from the that concert.
Oh, that. Hang on a second. Michelle needs to double check the calendar because it is actually on a particular date, and I just want to make sure I have the right date.
My memory was
And whether it-
like a couple months or something.
Yeah, it's it's Imlawful.
And whether it would offend anyone if she goes to see it.
So it is on the 13th of Imlawful. Would be the next, which is basically it's an Ebon Elf cultural celebration that spans that weekend. It's not on any of the Confederacy calendars, of course, but yeah, and it's sort of that's one of it's. Everybody who is artiste that over that 3-day. Every gallery is open, every ballroom is open, every concert hall is alive, every playhouse has a new production. It's 3 days of big chuckles, basically getting drunk on the finest of culture.
Oh, that sounds lovely. For Chantal, but also for Alexandre.
And he kind of looks at you speculatively for a moment. You'd need an escort. I don't think you. Well, he's kind of you're half elven, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would openly challenge you, but let's just say we get very few of it. We get very few of your kin or that come to visit us down there. You'd likely get a lot of raised eyebrows as a minimum, but particularly in a cultural celebration, I don't think anyone would. I don't think you'd actually. I don't think anyone would dissuade you.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think Lucas is probably just going to keep dancing with as many people as possible. He'd definitely have breaks, water breaks, and he's definitely going back to that night's whiskey that he tasted earlier.
It's I don't know how much it's definitely got a very solid back flavor of honey with a fair amount of smoke over top of it.
Ooh,
so
sounds perfect.
Yeah, bitter and sweet all in one, in every mouthful.
Living it up.
Modest kick. It's not any of the usual ebon elven atrocities. So yeah, completely palatable for humans. Not surprising. It comes from the distillery is, like I say, it's a bit it's a half day's travel or something away from Shining Capital, just far enough away to call it rural. All right. So the evening is therefore going to pass relatively otherwise uneventfully. Unless, go ahead.
Oh, I'd just definitely like to have a conversation with Chevalier in his fine suit.
Go ahead, carry on then.
Yeah, whenever he comes off the dance floor, probably with Alexandre, I'll sidle up and say, "Well, don't we scrub up well?"
It helps, I'm told, when you have very good tailors.
Indeed.
So you,
And I sort of lift my slightly loose tuxedo and let it fall.
I understand you were quite a hit last night.
Do you now?
Well, He wanted to dance with all of us. I was last.
Yes, well, I'm sure that was very nice for you. Did he?
He just starts laughing and is like, "It is okay. I'm just giving you a hard time, I guess."
Did he? I'm just trying to. Did he try to kiss you too?
I think there may have been a moment, but I feel like the height difference got in the way.
Yes, hard to dip someone taller than you. Well, how do you get the suit under your shoulders? That's very tricky.
Well, the secret is everything on the top is actually in two parts. And so it connects down the back, but it is hidden.
Huh.
And he sort of like, the man sort of goes across his shoulders and down his back a little bit. He sort of just like lifts slightly. And you can see it's still connected on his back. And the shirts and stuff sort of go around it. There's like it's been built around that. And there's like a seam.
He's literally been sewn into his clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of like it sinks in and then like it's sort of like it's designed to be held together once it comes back down.
It's an ingenious way to protect the joints, really.
It's mostly for, well, I talk as if I have a complete understanding, but it seems, I guess, to house, I don't know if manufacturing is the correct term. But as he mentioned it, like every time you've seen him like create like a little like orb, like one of those floating spheres, it's come from behind him. It comes out.
Yeah, right. One of the first and most important lessons I learned on the streets of the capital was where a man is softest, the armpits, the groin. If I wanted to design a war machine to counter everything that people knew, be a good place to start.
I have had the same thought. I do not know where I come from, who built me, but it is very clear what I was designed to do. Knowing how to fight was one of the few things I knew when I when I woke. I could speak, I could fight, and I knew that I was a Praetorian. But
not
beyond
what
the
that
word,
was.
I don't know. And I knew that the lady in front of me, Alexandre's Gramir, I knew she was the one who had woken me. Everything about me is designed for battle, for combat. But I have been given the chance to be more.
Yeah. Yeah, I sort of feel that way too.
One of the things, sorry.
No, well, don't look behind you, but perhaps we could just shuffle this way.
Just sort of angles himself slightly so that he's like, I feel like it's not difficult for Chevalier to completely block one side to the spider.
I'm just going to say, given that Spider is probably half the shoulder width that Chevalier is. Yeah.
I love the fact that there is a trashy, flirty elf dancing around this place. Just like, and everyone's avoiding them.
Alexandria would totally dance with them.
I'm just going to say, actually, for lack of a better way of putting it, I'm just going to say, you may be avoiding them, but they're clearly but they were, hang on a second, double checking the name. Yeah, Amato is clearly looking for both Alexandria and Jasper again. Yeah. So yes, at some point in time, Alexandria will be out for a spin and a gossip. Amato is disarmingly charming. If it wasn't for the fact that Alexandria has a finely honed courtoisie, she's pretty sure that she'd be running her mouth off like a schoolgirl.
Good learning. Good learning opportunity. Don't run mouth off like schoolgirl.
I think there would be one point when Lucas would try. Is Ch1 around?
Oh, of course she is. I was just going to say, in point of fact, Ch1 seems to be hell-bent for leather on either causing a scandal or being able to shame her grandchildren for not having kept up all night. You can't tell what it is. She's been out on the dance floor most of the evening. She's had a bit of a lineup in point. It seems to be that essentially all of the various, because there's probably 6 different Ebon Elf families here. And so it seems there's a polite courtesy that everyone's going to be dancing with everyone of importance. And as the hostess, if you will, so her dance card is pretty much full. But, on the odd time when she's sitting off to a side having a drink of something or just composing her breath, she'll just, as soon as Jazina takes her eyes off her, she grabs the hand of some attractive young fellow and they're out on the dance floor for a spin. Much to Jazina's, she's doing it again.
Right.
And I think at some point Chevalier will conclude that just Ishani's delights in giving Jazina fits.
Brilliant.
That point was earlier during the meeting.
Yeah.
I think Lucas is going to try and have a dance with her.
Oh, she'd be thrilled. She'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
One of the things I think it'll actually take a moment, and she's actually going to. There'll be this awkward moment where you try and move and nothing happens, and and then she lets you lead. She's leading.
I'm sorry. She held Lucas still.
Yes. Off we go. No, we don't. Oh, I'm sorry, leading. I keep forgetting that's how that works.
Lucas goes to move, and this older elf, just like iron grip. It's like,
Yeah, rooted to the floor. Sorry, no.
Nice.
Yeah. She's had 60 years. She's coming up on 90 years of playing on a dance floor. She's an incredibly good dancer. Even by passive, even if she hadn't been actively trying, she's been practicing. She's been dancing for 90 years at this point. So yeah, she gets along just fine.
Nice. Great. Yeah, I think it's just Lucas just wants to kind of get as close to his grandfather as he can. I think it would be.
So
Probably not that close.
I'm just going to
No. But like the idea of him, like dancing with this woman. I mean, he's definitely not gonna like make any moves.
No.
There's always going to be a wonderful tension that's in dancing.
Oh, good God! That is the very nature of ballroom, and particularly any of the dances like the Venetian waltz. There's the whole dance is a remarkable piece of tension and body mechanic, both emotional and physical. So yeah, and she will chit chat with you, ask you if you're enjoying your evening, who have you been chatting with, have you been, is the food okay? She's a remarkably capable hostess, as well as she, at no point does Lucas feel like any of the questions are not sincere.
Right. It seems also like, correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, but it seems that out of all the elves that they've met, she's the least uptight. Like, she seems to be the most relaxed and casual.
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably the toss-up right now would be between her and Renamala. Renamalan's got a stubborn streak, as Chevalier has found out. She's got a fierce sense of friendship. But in terms of I'm old enough that none of you can tell me no, that's definitely Ch1's space.
Nice. Wonderful.
Yeah. Like I say, it very much, to Alexandria, it's going to be very much the sort of perpetual state of family scandal, if you will, that she's used to from Gromere. There was always something your mother or father were upset about because your grandmother had been off again.
Yeah, this is nice.
Yeah,
this is nice. It's like being home.
I have this at some point, like Chevalier, like you have Jazina sort of like with a slight horror, like watching, and Chevalier, he sort of comes up, and he sort of looks at Ch1, and he sort of looks back at Jazina. Part of me wants to introduce her to Alexandre's grandma. Another part of me is terrifying of what they would be able to do together. I don't think anyone would be ready for that.
Jazina winces slightly. Like, I understand she enjoys trolling me, but I can't help fall for it. I just can't.
And he sort of gestures at her and he goes, imagine that, but 70 and human. And that is,
I suppose that'd be
Malena Donadu.
She kind of pauses for a moment. I suppose that'd be one way to get rid of the Confederacy.
Bold of you to assume that they would stop with the Confederacy.
There is that. Are you enjoying yourself?
I am. Thank you for having us.
She pauses for a moment. Aquidian can be a bit of an odd duck at times, but he has good instincts. There are some places I'll argue with him, but folks like you are what he specializes in, so when he told me this was a good idea, I didn't disagree with him. I've learned.
When he offered us the job, I was against taking it. I didn't think we needed to. Had no intention of betraying the trust, as it were. But we were new in the city. We did not know who the players were. I did not see the benefit of hitching ourselves to the first person who asked.
She nods. She kind of gives you a side eye. You have a very good sense of politics.
Years of experience.
She claps very politely as some beautiful couple goes whirling past, looking terribly dashing.
But now, I am very glad that circumstances were such that our hand was somewhat forced. Almost makes one start to believe in fate.
Interestingly enough, thank you, by the way, Big Dog House. We deeply appreciate that. That is very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Welcome.
Yes, yes. He kind of pauses for a moment. She pauses for a moment and says, interestingly enough, our culture doesn't have a concept of fate. Fate is one of those ideas that makes everything you do in the world meaningless. But she pauses for a moment. On the other hand, we will philosophize endlessly over a very strong Porto about funny coincidences. My first reaction when Aquidian said he had a brand new group of problem solvers that he thought might work out just fine, I laughed at him and pointed out that let's just say that things are that my opinion is that things in that city aren't worth fighting over. But Aquidian has his moments.
In the sense of, well, let's say I have entirely the same notion about fate as you. If I am not in control of my actions, everything I am is frankly a lie. But at the same time, that man dancing with Ch1 and his brother, they got drunk and announced our presence to the city, put a target on our backs, forced us to accept the first job that offered safe harbor. And it turns out it was offered by one of the few people, possibly in the entire Confederacy, who can tell them about their grandfather. Strange coincidences.
She smiles. She pauses for a moment. Let's just say that she shakes her head. I'm one of those people who always looks around at all of the strange coincidences that have got us to the point where we are right now. I'd like to give a certain amount of it to cunning politics, brilliant machinations, And then there's a certain amount of it's just been plain dumb luck. Let's just all be honest about that. She laughs. She looks at you. Welcome to the dumb luck club.
He sort of looks back and he's like, I'm a 7-foot war machine, possibly from a time long forgotten by recorded history. And I'm standing here in a tuxedo. Dumb luck doesn't begin to explain my existence.
She pauses for a moment, says, I'd offer you a glass of Porto, but you don't drink.
And just laughs.
All right. Elsewhere, anything else going on in the room?
Yeah, I wanted to have a chat with Renamala.
Yeah.
Somewhat to protect myself from Amato, but also, I'm interested in talking to her about her life below the city or in the tunnel. Yeah, so I guess I'm just looking at the map.
Hang on a sec. What about the map?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to work out. Let's get the cliff spider. Okay.
Yeah, so the route you guys were planning on taking...
Yeah, it was the boat from here to Düsseldorf.
Yeah.
Düsseldorf.
Yeah, Dasseldorf, which is in the Duchy of Spearcleft. But basically, it's pretty much right at the... It's a big green rolling plains that slams square into the side of the Sky Anvil Mountains. And coincidentally, there's a bloody big waterfall and river that pours down off the Sky Anvil Plains. So it has become a common... with the Arakoa now being part, or I'm going to have to come up with a new name because that's a D&D term. But the winged folk, with the winged folk's introduction to the mix, they're essentially operating as bush pilots, and they're just literally flying up and down the river. So suddenly, that's actually why Cliff Spider's where it's at. That's the story of that chunk. Spider, and Lucas would have heard that story dozens of times.
Yeah, so I guess I want to ask her. I say, Gwydion tells me your tunnels go on as far as the overland. Is that true?
She pauses for a moment. Where are you trying to get to? She says with a very cautious tone.
Yeah, that's really the question. Do they extend under the Sky Anvil Plains?
So she paused for a moment. The short version of a long story is that the greatest of the hunters will tell you you can walk anywhere that you can either fly or sail. I've personally never been there. Is it possible? No. Officially, yes. Is it a long walk? Uh-huh. Sorry, would it be a long walk? Uh-huh. She shrugs. But, I mean... The hardest problem is there's no such thing as a straight line down there. It's all switchbacks, ups and downs.
And everything hunts the light.
Well, the predators do, yeah. I mean, everything glows, except for the things that are hunting the things that glow. Yeah, I suppose that's a pretty good way of putting it. Thinking about going for a walk in the dark, are you?
Just considering options. How far down is it?
How high's the sky? She says with a shrug.
Can you walk under the ocean?
I think a better question is me personally, I've been down, straight down, or as close to straight down as I've been able to manage, 3 full days. and it just keeps going. So
Can you
under
walk?
the ocean, I don't know. I could find out. But like I say, my betters and masters tell me that if you can sail there or fly there on the light side, you can walk there in the dark.
And you really hunt these things?
Well, someone's got to, she says. It's pest control, if you want to put it in its most basic terms. I mean, she shrugs. It's no different than folks you have on the top side, you have on the bright side, who spend all of their time looking out for things that are crawling in out of the darks to menace poor villages and things. Someone's got to do it.
I don't suppose you could do some pest control for me. I'll be back shortly. And I spin her chair around so that she intercepts Amato as I just walk off.
I'm just going to say, actually, you find that she's got her that her wheel locks are set. So you go to move the chair, and there's this really awkward moment where she looks at you and says, "Don't ever do that again without asking."
And I just I ghost out just as he appears.
I'm just going to say, and as you dart off, I'm going to say that Chevalier is going to see Renamala glaring at Spider's back, beckon at Imato over, and point out which way he went. All right. Anything else anyone needs to... Any other scene that needs to happen? All right. That's it for today then, folks. We will resume next week, essentially with the morning after. So you can all give a little bit of thought. Amongst other things, bluntly, all of you are interesting enough that if you don't want to wake up alone, you don't have to. That's going to be the kind of night it's going to be. There's going to be an awful lot of
Chevalier?
There's going to be an awful lot of folks taking advantage of the fact it's a grand party with an awful lot of exceedingly expensive food and expensive drink and a lot of good feels, as it were. A lot of good mood. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of odd couples come morning. Is sort of going to be the thing. The Ebon Elves apparently aren't too worried about any of that. So yeah, and that's going to be that. So thank you very much all for joining us. We appreciate your time. And now it's goodbyes. So let's start with Chantel.
Oh, we're starting with me. Okay, that's nice.
You're welcome.
Hello, bye. I am me. You can find me. People have been staring at my name for the last however long. So you know who I am. You can find me at Chantel B on Twitter. You can find me at wordswithcolor.com, where I put up all of the writings that I do with all of these games and just general writings. You can also find me on YouTube for this channel, which is somewhere, probably down there in the video description. And you can also find me on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, playing City of Mist at NE_actor for a new system that I haven't played before. It's going to be great.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I'm excited.
What system?
City of Mist, or a new game.
Oh, okay. Brand new game, brand new system.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
It's an indie game. I'm excited. Let's play something new.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
All right. Drew?
Ooh, hello. Hi. I am Drew, and you can find me on Twitter at Drew Wilson and pretty much every other social media thing that is out there, Drew Wilson. What else? I also have a blog similar to Chantel's, but mine is still got the .wordpress in it. It is Tales from the Tavern. .wordpress.com, where I put up little bits and pieces of Lucas's thoughts and things. There might be something this week. Oh, it depends if I've got time. So they usually pop up there. But yeah, see you next week.
Fantastic. Sam?
That was fun. This is like, I really enjoy a game where it's like, you know, I didn't do much. Most of the beginning of the session was like just saying, yeah, he doesn't do anything. But like Alexandre and Lucas's conversation at the tree, oh, so good. And then the party was fantastic. So this has been a lot of fun. It's been a great session. You can find me on Twitter.
By the way,
somewhere.
By the way, Sam absolutely adored the creativity of the bit with the tuxedo and the Taylor elves. I thought it was brilliant. Totally happy with that. Well done.
I'd sort of messaged on telling me like, do you reckon I could get away with suggesting that? And it was like, there's no way. There's not enough time. I was like, yeah, I guess I could do something. This other option that's not as fun. So I'm not going to do it. And then I was like, but magic exists, so stuff it.
Well, and the other thing too is, as it works out, I've actually met some people who do costuming and stuff like that, and it's remarkable how much period costume was essentially they just sewed you into your clothes, and that's the easiest, fastest way to do to get anybody to look good in clothing. Is it's designed to be sewn into and seam rippered out of. So yeah, no, I'm totally okay with that.
I can remember going when I was in Vietnam with my family, and like we all got various tailored clothing. In less than a day, including a pair of shoes.
Yep.
That my brother immediately got rid of because he didn't like them. But
okay then.
He gave a specific. He had a very specific idea of what he wanted, and they had a really good go at making it, and he was very impressed. But they weren't what he wanted.
Gotcha.
But he still took them. I think he just sold them when he got home. But yeah, so making clothes quickly is possible, but amazingly impressive when it happens.
Yes.
But yeah, as I was saying, you can find me on Twitter, _SammyP. You can find me on the other games that we run on Due Respite, which are currently being put up on YouTube, on the Due Respite YouTube channel. So that's the Ley Lines of London and the Secrets of Sultana.
Very good.
So check those out. They're great.
All right. Jamie?
Yeah, hi. I'm Jamie Collette. You can find me on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto or on my website, jamie-collette.com. Yeah, I said that right. jamie-collette.com. I'm a professional voice actor and performer. And you can also find me on www.streamedshakespeare.com. We just closed The Merchant of Venice, but the on-demand video version is only $5, and it will be available from today, maybe? Sometime this week. And I am going to be directing Richard III for them coming up in October, starring the wonderful, wherever he is, Drew Wilson.
Yes. Excellent. Awesome.
So come check us out.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else who's watching. And so my name is Michel Vaillancourt. I'm the storyteller, games master for this fantastic group of people. Thank you very much. You can catch up with me Sunday mornings, 9:02 PE Gaming is my Twitch channel, where I talk about running games like this and what goes into prep and being a GM, all the other happy stuff. That's pretty much all I talk about. Sometimes it's a podcast, and other times I'm just drawing maps. Drop in, find out. You can also catch up with me, as always, MichelV69 on Twitter. My Twitter feed's a little bit political, mostly Canadian politics, but if you're interested, hey, catch up with me. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. We ran a little bit long today. The players and I have had a couple long conversations. We're finding 3 hours really hard to stick to. We always have just one more scene we want to do. So we decided we experiment with a 4-hour format when time permits and circumstances permit. But as somebody just pointed out, it's 2 o'clock in the morning for some of these poor folks. So we're going to wrap it up. Do Respite Media, of course, is the brainchild of Eric. The whole point is investing in stories. Thank you for joining us. We deeply appreciate your time. If you're watching this on the VOD, whether you're catching it live, either way, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening to our stories. If you can, please do subscribe. If you can, please do follow. Tell your friends. We just want to share what we do. We all deeply believe in Eric's vision. So, yeah, thanks very much. We'll catch you around. Bye-bye.